There is a book bound within you. Its cover is made not of leather or paper, but of silence and time. It has no title etched upon its spine, and for most of your life, its pages have appeared entirely blank. It rests in the quietest, deepest library of your soul, gathering the dust of countless, unexamined days. This tome does not open for just any reader. It does not yield to idle curiosity or forceful demand. It waits. It waits for a specific kind of moment, a moment you are likely feeling right now. It is a feeling of profound dissonance, a quiet hum of wrongness that has grown too loud to ignore. It is the exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. It is the sensation of running endlessly on a path you do not remember choosing, towards a horizon that never gets closer. You find yourself standing at a crossroads where all directions are obscured by the same dense fog. Do not mistake this for failure. Do not interpret this ache as a sign that you are broken. It is a summons. It is the sound of the heavy cover of that ancient inner book, creaking open for the first time. The fog is not a barrier, it is an invitation. The exhaustion is not an end, it is a threshold. You are being called away from the noise, away from the endless reflections in the eyes of others, to a place of stillness where a different kind of knowledge resides. So now, simply allow this space to form around you. Take one slow breath, and with the exhale, let the clamor of your world recede. Let the demands, the expectations, the digital ghosts, all of it, dissolve into a soft, distant murmur. Imagine yourself standing at the entrance of that silent inner library. The air here is cool and still. The only sound is the quiet, steady rhythm of your own presence. This is the space we will inhabit. This is the workshop. This is where we begin to decipher the script that is written in a language only your soul can understand. The tome is opening. Let us begin to read. The first chapter begins not with a word, but with a sound. A low, persistent hum. It is not a sound that enters through your ears, but one that rises from within your own bones. At first, it is almost imperceptible, lost beneath the louder noises of your life, the deadlines, the conversations, the endless stream of information. You might mistake it for tiredness, or stress, or the simple friction of a life being lived. It is the static that crackles at the edge of your hearing in a quiet room, the vibration you feel in the floorboards from a machine running somewhere in the foundations of the house. For years, you have learned to live with it, to function above its frequency, to turn the volume of the world up just enough to make it fade into the background. But now, it has changed. The hum has grown in insistence. It has become a dissonance, a note that is subtly, undeniably wrong. It is a vibration that puts your teeth on edge. It is the feeling of a perfect chord, with one string slightly out of tune, a beautiful melody marred by a single, discordant frequency. This sound is the first sentence in the hidden tome. It is the title of the first chapter, The Hum of Dissonance. This hum is the resonance of a divided self. It is the friction generated between the person you perform for the world and the person who breathes silently in the dark when the performance is over. The self you present, the one that is so competent, so agreeable, so reasonable, was not born, it was built. It was assembled piece by piece over decades, a composite of learned behaviors and accepted opinions. A smile that was rewarded, a silence that avoided conflict, a laugh that signaled belonging, an opinion that mirrored the tribe's. Each piece was added for a good reason, for safety, for acceptance, for love, for survival. You became the architect of a flawless public self, a carefully constructed mosaic of palatable traits. It is a masterpiece of social engineering, and it has served you well. It has earned you your place. It has navigated you through the treacherous waters of social expectation. But there is a cost to this architecture. The maintenance is exhausting. Every moment you are in the world, a part of your energy is diverted to holding the pieces in place, to managing the facade, to ensuring the mask does not slip. This constant, low-level vigilance is the source of the weariness that no amount of rest can cure. It is the hum. The conflict, then, is a battle between two of your deepest, most primal needs. The need to belong, to be seen and accepted by the tribe, is pitted against the need for authenticity, the soul's non-negotiable demand to be true to its own nature. For a long time, the need to belong won. It had to. The cost of ostracization was too high, so you paid the price. You paid with small compromises, tiny self-betrayals that seemed insignificant on their own. You swallowed the sharp-edged word to maintain the peace. You nodded when you disagreed. You pursued the goal that was expected, not the one that was desired. Each of these acts was a single, imperceptible tightening of a screw, a slight deadening of an inner wire. And now, after years of these minute adjustments, the accumulated tension has reached a critical point. The hum is the sound of your inner being straining against these constraints. It is the voice of the person you left behind, the one who watches from the wings as your actor plays its part on the stage. This inner self is not angry. It is simply present. And its presence, in contrast to the role you are playing, creates the dissonance. You feel like an imposter in your own life because, in a way, you are. You are the understudy who has been playing the lead for so long. You have started to forget your own name. The natural impulse is to silence the hum. When a machine makes a troubling noise, we try to fix it, or we turn it off. And so you have tried to turn yourself off. You have drowned the sound in noise, in work, in distraction. You have filled every available second with podcasts, with music, with scrolling, with planning, with anything to avoid the terrifying stillness where the hum is the only thing left. You have tried to outrun it, believing that a new city, a new job, a new relationship might change the frequency. But you cannot run from a sound that is coming from the runner. It is a part of your own resonant field. Every attempt to silence it is an act of violence against the messenger. For that is what the hum is. It is not the problem, it is the diagnosis. It is a sophisticated biological and spiritual feedback system telling you one simple, crucial thing: there is a misalignment. Something is not true. This dissonance is not a curse. It is a compass needle, shivering and vibrating, trying to point you back toward your own true north. The suffering it causes is not punitive. It is instructive. It is a form of grace, the kind of fierce, uncomfortable grace that forces you to finally stop, to stand still, and to listen. So, how do you begin to listen? How do you start to translate this raw, wordless vibration into a language you can understand? You do not begin with the mind. The mind is the architect of the facade. It will only offer solutions that reinforce its own creation. It will tell you to try harder, to be more efficient, to find a new strategy for happiness. It will try to analyze the hum, categorize it, and file it away as anxiety or burnout. This is a dead end. The first act of reading this chapter is an act of radical embodiment. It is a deliberate descent out of the noisy attic of your thoughts and into the quiet cellar of your physical self. This is your first practical task, your first exercise in deciphering the tome. It requires 5 minutes. That is all. Find a place where you can sit undisturbed. A chair is fine. The floor is fine. It does not matter. Close your eyes, not to shut the world out, but to turn your attention inward. For these 5 minutes, you have only one job: to become a dispassionate observer of the physical sensations within your own body. Do not try to change anything. Do not judge what you find. Your goal is not to achieve a state of relaxation or peace. Your goal is to gather information. Simply listen. Bring your attention to your feet on the floor. What do you feel? The pressure, the temperature, the texture of your socks? Just notice. Move your attention to your hands. Are they clenched or open? Are they warm or cold? Do not answer with words. Answer with feeling. Scan your body for the epicenters of tension. The jaw. Most of us hold a decade of unspoken words in the jaw. Is yours tight? Just feel the sensation of the clenched muscle. The shoulders. Are they creeping up toward your ears, bracing for a blow that never comes? Let them be. Just notice their position. Pay attention to your stomach. Is there a knot, a flutter, a coldness? This is a primary center of intuition, a place where the body speaks its truth long before the mind is ready to hear it. Finally, bring your attention to your breath. Do not deepen it. Do not control it. Simply observe it as it is. Is it shallow? A frightened little sip of air? Is it ragged? Does it pause at the top or at the bottom? The quality of your breath is an honest, up-to-the-minute report on the state of your nervous system. In these sensations, the clenched jaw, the rising shoulders, the shallow breath, you will find the physical signature of the hum. You are no longer just hearing it. You are feeling its source. You are touching the raw material of your own inner state. This practice is not meant to fix you. It is meant to introduce you to yourself. You are learning the primary alphabet of your inner world. Sensation is the first language. Before the story, before the emotion, there is the raw, physical data. By sitting still and simply noticing it, you are performing a revolutionary act. You are telling the messenger, the hum, that you are finally ready to listen. You are turning towards the sound. This is the first, most crucial step in a long journey of translation. You have now read the first sentence. You have acknowledged the hum. And in this simple, courageous act of attention, you have begun to turn the first page. If the first chapter is the sound of your inner world, the second is about the light. Not the light you see, but the light you see with. For your entire life, you have been taught to see yourself through a strange and precarious mechanism, a vast and intricate hall of mirrors. You did not build this hall. You were born into it. The first mirror was held up to you in the cradle. It was the face of your mother, your father. Their smile was a reflection that said, "You are good, you are welcome." Their frown was a reflection that said, "You are wrong, you are in danger." Before you had a name, before you had a language, you had this, the reflected self. You learned that you existed by seeing your existence mirrored in the eyes of another. This is not a mistake of your development. It is the universal human condition. It is how we learn to connect, to bond, to survive. But a mechanism for survival in childhood can become a prison in adulthood. And the walls of this prison are made of shattered glass. This is the chapter of the shattered mirror. As you grew, the hall expanded. Every person you met became a new mirror, each with its own unique curvature, its own distortions. A teacher's praise was a magnifying mirror, making you feel brilliant and vast. A childhood bully's taunt was a shrinking mirror, making you feel small and worthless. The passionate gaze of a first love was a gilded mirror, reflecting an image of yourself so beautiful you could hardly believe it was you. The cold indifference of a stranger in a crowd was a gray, dull mirror, reflecting back nothing but your own insignificance. Your life became an unconscious, desperate dance through this hall of mirrors. You learned to contort your body, your voice, your very soul, to stand only in front of the mirrors that gave you a pleasing reflection. You became an expert at predicting which angles, which words, which personalities would produce the image you craved, an image of being worthy, intelligent, desirable, and good. This hunt for the good mirror is the engine of our culture. It is the silent force behind ambition, behind charm, behind the relentless curation of our digital lives. We are all just looking for a reflection we can live with. The internal conflict, the deep and draining struggle of your life, is the war between this desperate need for a good reflection and the paralyzing fear of a bad one. The fear of judgment is nothing more than the terror of being forced to stand in front of a warped mirror. A critical word from a boss, a betrayed confidence from a friend, a social rejection. These are not just events. They are moments where a mirror shatters, and the reflection it once offered is replaced by a jagged, monstrous caricature. Your frantic response is to deny the reflection. "That's not me," you insist. Or you try to attack the mirror itself, blaming the other person for their distorted view. Or, most painfully, you believe it. You accept the broken reflection as your truth, and you carry that sharp, cutting shard of glass inside you, letting it define you. You spend so much energy avoiding the bad mirrors and preening in front of the good ones that you have no energy left for a more fundamental question. Who is the one doing the looking? Who is the one standing in this chaotic, glittering, treacherous hall? The result of this life lived by reflection is a profound and painful fragmentation. You are not a single, coherent self. You are a collection of reflections, a collage of contradictory images. There is a work self, a family self, a friend self, a lover self, and even a stranger self. Each one is a carefully managed performance, tailored for the specific mirror you are facing at that moment. And the deep, psychic exhaustion you feel is the strain of keeping these different selves from meeting. It is the fear that your work colleagues might see the vulnerable self your partner sees, or that your family might see the ambitious, sometimes ruthless self your competitors see. You are the sole, stressed-out curator of a museum of selves, constantly running from room to room, adjusting the lighting, terrified that a visitor from one wing might wander into another and expose the whole exhibition as a fraud. This is the hum of dissonance from another angle. It is the sound of these fragmented selves grinding against one another. Then, one day, the main mirror shatters. It is always the mirror you relied upon the most. Perhaps it is your career, and a sudden job loss removes the reflection of competent professional you have polished for years. Perhaps it is a long-term relationship, and a separation removes the reflection of loved partner that made you feel whole. Perhaps it is your physical health, your social status, your role as a parent. Whatever it is, the primary mirror that you use to define your worth is suddenly gone. In its place is a void. And when you look down at your hands to see who you are now, you find you are holding nothing but 1,000 glittering shards of broken glass. Each shard shows a tiny, distorted piece of a face you no longer recognize. This is an identity crisis. It is the terrifying, groundless moment when you realize you have no idea who you are without the reflection you have lost. The first impulse is always the same, a frantic scramble to reassemble the mirror. You try to glue the pieces back together. You call your friends, not for connection, but for validation, asking them to hold up the shards that still reflect you in a positive light. You might dive into a new project, a new relationship, a new diet, anything that promises to provide a new whole mirror, fast. You post a carefully crafted image of resilience on social media, using the likes and comments as a cheap, temporary glue to stick the fragments of your ego back together. But this is a fool's errand. You can never reassemble a shattered mirror and see a true image. The cracks will always show. The reflection will be a web of fractures, a constant, painful reminder of the break. The core message of this chapter, the truth that can liberate you, is this: stop trying to fix the mirror. Let the shards lie on the floor. Thank them for their service. And for the first time in your life, turn around. Because behind you, where you have never thought to look, is another mirror. It has been there all along. This mirror is not made of glass. It is made of pure awareness. It cannot be shattered. It cannot be warped. It has no opinion. It does not judge, magnify, or diminish. It simply is. It is the silent, conscious presence within you that has been witnessing the entire show in the Hall of Mirrors since the day you were born. It is the part of you that is aware you are sad, but is not itself sadness. It is the part of you that is aware you are thinking, but is not the thoughts. It is the still, deep, unshakable consciousness that you are. Living from the reflections is hell. Learning to live from this inner mirror is freedom. The practical work, then, is to shift your allegiance. It is to deliberately withdraw your attention from the outer mirrors and begin to polish the inner one. How do you do this? You begin with 2 practices of redirection. The first is to change the way you listen. The next time you are in a conversation, especially one where you feel the urge to be seen as clever or interesting, consciously shift your entire focus. Instead of formulating your next sentence while the other person is speaking, and instead of monitoring your own facial expressions and body language, redirect 100% of your energy to simply receiving them. Listen not just to their words, but to the feeling behind the words. Listen to the pauses. Listen to what their body language is telling you. In that moment, you cease to be a performer begging for a good reflection, and you become a space of pure presence. You are not looking at them to see yourself. You are simply looking at them to see them. This act of selfless attention is a powerful way to polish the inner mirror. It starves your ego of the validation it craves and strengthens your capacity for true connection. The second practice is to go on a conscious information diet. The most powerful and distorting mirrors in the modern world are in the palm of your hand. Social media is a hyper-accelerated hall of mirrors, purpose-built to trigger your deepest needs for validation and your greatest fears of judgment. To step away from it is not an act of ignorance. It is an act of profound self-respect. Choose a period of time a day, even just an evening, to consciously unplug from this chaotic hall of reflections. Do not replace it with other distractions. Inhabit the space you have created. Feel the initial discomfort, the addict's itch to see your reflection, to see how others are being reflected. Stay with that feeling. This is the withdrawal from a lifelong dependency. By starving your senses of these millions of chaotic external images, you create the quiet space needed for your inner vision to strengthen. You give the true mirror, the silent awareness within, a chance to be felt. This is the turning point. This is the choice to stop being the reflection and to start being the witness. The shattered pieces of your old identities are on the floor. They are not you. They are the history of your search for yourself in places you could never be found. Your value is not located in the opinion of another. Your wholeness is not dependent on a perfect, unbroken reflection. Your true self is the vast, silent, unbreakable presence that is looking through your eyes right now. It was there before the first mirror was ever held up, and it will be there long after the last one has turned to dust. You are not the glass. You are the light. After you turn from the hall of shattered mirrors, you find yourself in a different kind of space. It is quiet here, but it is not empty. The air is thick, heavy, imbued with a strange and powerful force. It is a kind of gravity, a psychic weight that pulls not downward, but backward. This is the domain of ghosts. This is the third chapter, the gravity of ghosts. Every step you try to take forward into the unknown is met with an invisible, insistent tug, pulling you back into the well-trodden territory of your own history. Your body wants to move into the future, but your soul seems to be anchored in the past. This anchor is made of memory. It is forged from the dense, heavy material of everything that has ever happened to you, every wound that never fully healed, every grief that was never fully mourned, every shame that was never brought into the light. You are carrying the weight of 1,000 yesterdays, and it is the reason your present moment feels so incredibly heavy. Your mind has become a museum of personal history, and you are its sole captive visitor. But you are not a casual guest. You are a devotee. You walk the same halls every day, pausing at the same exhibits. Here is the grand installation of your first betrayal, perfectly preserved, the shock and pain as vivid as the day it happened. Over here, the permanent exhibition on My Greatest Failures, a multimedia display of every mistake, every wrong turn, every opportunity you fumbled. There is a whole wing dedicated to loss, each room a shrine to a person or a dream that is no longer with you. You know the layout by heart. You know the cold feel of the marble floors and the exact way the light hits the dust motes in the air. You tell yourself, You are visiting this museum to learn, to remember, to ensure you never make the same mistakes again. But the truth is more complex. You have become identified with the exhibits. You are no longer the visitor observing the painting of a lonely child. You are the lonely child in the painting. You have mistaken the catalog of your wounds for the catalog of yourself. The stories of what happened to you have become the story of who you are. And there is a strange, seductive comfort in this museum of pain. The past, no matter how tragic, is finished. It is a known quantity. The narrative is set, the characters are defined, the ending is written. In this museum, you know who you are. You are the one who was abandoned. You are the one who never got a fair chance. You are the one who messed everything up. These roles, while painful, are stable. They provide a solid, if grim, sense of identity. The future, by contrast, is a terrifying, empty canvas. To step out of the museum is to step into a radical uncertainty where you have to define yourself anew in every moment. The gravity of the past is, in part, the allure of this certainty. The ghost of who you were feels more real, more solid, than the potential of who you might become. And so you stay, walking the familiar hallowed halls, tracing the outlines of your scars, believing that this pilgrimage of remembrance is your sacred duty. But it is not a duty, it is a cage. This psychic gravity is not a mystical force, it is a composite of tangible, inner phenomena. First, there is the weight of unprocessed emotion. Every time you swallowed your anger, every time you told yourself to get over a loss without truly grieving, every time you pushed away a feeling of shame, you did not make it disappear. You simply compressed it. You packed it down into the dense, heavy core of your being. This compressed emotional energy is like a dark star, emitting a constant, powerful gravitational pull, ensuring that all new experiences are drawn into its orbit and interpreted through its sorrowful light. Second, there is the power of narrative loops. Your mind is a storyteller, and it loves to tell the same stories over and over. People can't be trusted. I'm not good enough. Something will always go wrong. These are not just thoughts. They are deeply grooved neural pathways, mental habits so ingrained that they operate on autopilot. You fall into these stories as easily as a marble falls into a well-worn rut. They are the background radiation of your consciousness, the constant whisper of the ghosts telling you that the future will be no different from the past. The internal conflict, then, is a constant tug-of-war. On one end of the rope is the ghost of what was, this heavy composite self made of old pain and familiar stories. It pulls with the immense inertial weight of your entire history. It whispers, "Stay here. It hurts, but it's safe. Out there, you could get hurt in new ways. Here, at least you know the shape of your suffering." On the other end of the rope is a far quieter, more fragile force. It is the whisper of what could be. It has no solid form, no history to give it weight. It is the pull of life itself, the call of the blank canvas, the tentative, hopeful impulse towards growth and freedom. It cannot promise you safety. It cannot promise you success. It only promises possibility. And in every moment of your life, you are standing on the precipice between these two forces. When someone offers you kindness, do you feel the pull of the ghost whispering, "It's a trick," or do you feel the whisper inviting you to trust? When you face a new challenge, does the ghost pull you back with memories of every past failure, or does the whisper encourage you to try anyway? Your present moment is the fulcrum of this immense struggle. Here is the secret that can change everything. You cannot win a tug of war with a ghost. To pull against the past is to give it your strength. To fight with it is to confirm its reality. The way you win is not by pulling harder. The way you win is by dropping the rope. The core message of this chapter is one of radical disidentification. You are not the stones in the backpack you carry. You are the one who is carrying the backpack. You are not the tragic figure in the museum's paintings. You are the silent, conscious space in which the museum exists. The pain, the stories, the memories they happened. They are real, but they are not you. This separation is the key to liberation, and there is a practice that can help you create this sacred space. It is the practice of discharge writing. Find a time and a place where you will not be disturbed. Take a notebook and a pen. A screen will not do. The physical act of writing, the friction of pen on paper, is essential. Choose one ghost, one story from your museum that you visit most often. Perhaps it is a story of a particular rejection or a specific failure. Now, begin to write. Write the story down as you remember it. Do not edit. Do not worry about grammar or spelling or making it sound good. This is not for an audience. This is an exorcism. Pour every detail onto the page the way the room looked, the sound of a voice, the feeling in your stomach, the thoughts that race through your mind. Write what happened before, what happened during, and what happened after. Write down all the things you wish you had said, all the anger and grief you swallowed. Keep writing until you feel empty of it, until there is nothing left to say. Now, put the pen down, take a few deep breaths. When you are ready, pick up the notebook and read what you have written, but you will read it differently. You are no longer the protagonist of this story. You are a historian, a compassionate, detached researcher who has just discovered this primary source document. Read it with curiosity. Look at the narrative choices the author made. Notice the repeated words, the emotional language. Observe the pain described in the story without letting it become your pain right now. See how the events are linked together to create a specific meaning. By doing this, you perform a kind of alchemy. You have taken the ghost that was living inside you, intangible and all-powerful, and you have given it form. It is now an object, a collection of ink on paper. It is there, and you are here. In the space between you and the notebook, a new freedom is born. You can see, perhaps for the first time, that this is a story you have been telling yourself, not a reality you are doomed to inhabit. You can do this with every ghost in your museum, with every stone in your backpack. One by one, you can write them out of your body and onto the page. You are not destroying the past. You are not erasing it. You are transmuting it. You are changing your relationship to it. The museum does not need to be burned down. It can simply be closed. The exhibits can be archived. The stones do not need to be shattered. They can simply be set down by the side of the road. You can look at them, acknowledge their weight and the incredible strength it took to carry them for so long, and then you can walk away. You honor the journey by completing it. You honor the past by refusing to be its prisoner. And you walk on, your back straight, your hands free, your gaze fixed not on the haunted road behind you, but on the open, unwritten path that is waiting at your feet. You have set down the stones of your past, and for a moment you feel a breathtaking lightness. You stand upright, unburdened. But as you stand in this new, open space, you become aware of another force, one you had not noticed while you were hunched over by the weight of your own history. It is a wind. It is not a gentle, refreshing breeze. It is a gale, a relentless, invisible torrent of pressure that comes from every direction at once. It has been blowing on you your entire life, but now, without the gravity of ghosts to hold you in place, you feel its full power. This is the fourth chapter, the wind of voices, the anchor of silence. This wind is the collective sound of the human world, a hurricane of opinions, expectations, advice, and demands. It whistles past your ears, seeking to push you, to spin you, to direct you, and your untethered self is as vulnerable to it as a single leaf in an autumn storm. This wind is composed of many currents, each with its own temperature and force. There are the warm, familiar currents of your upbringing, the voices of your parents, your teachers, the well-intentioned guardians of your childhood. Their advice and their values were your first weather system, a climate you learned to navigate before you could even speak. Their voices still echo within you, shaping your decisions in ways you rarely consciously acknowledge. Then there are the powerful trade winds of culture and society. These are the unspoken shoulds and musts, the pervasive assumptions about what a successful, worthy, or good life looks like. They are the air you breathe, the pressure that dictates the acceptable shapes for your dreams, your relationships, your ambitions. You absorb these currents through osmosis, and they silently steer you towards a common destination, whether or not it is a place your own soul wishes to go. And in our modern age, these natural winds have been joined by a new, more chaotic force, the digital hurricane. This is the relentless, 24-hour storm of information that blows through the small screen in your hand. It is a tempest of news alerts, algorithmically targeted advertisements, curated social media feeds, and the disembodied opinions of millions. This is not a steady wind you can lean against. It is a chaotic vortex of conflicting data points. One moment, a gust tells you to be ambitious and hustle. The next, a countercurrent tells you to seek balance and practice self-care. One voice screams that the world is ending. Another whispers that you can have it all if you just buy this one product. The result is a state of perpetual disorientation. Your inner compass, the quiet needle of your own intuition, spins wildly, unable to find true north in this magnetic storm. You are constantly reacting, never truly choosing. Your life becomes a series of deflections and adjustments. Your path dictated not by a map, but by the random, violent gusts of the wind. To live unmoored in this wind is to suffer a slow and certain erosion of the self. Your intuition, that quiet, non-linear knowing that resides in your gut, is the first casualty. It is a delicate instrument, and its signal is easily drowned out. You might have a gut feeling about a person or a situation, a quiet inner yes or no, but then the wind blows. You consult 10 articles online, you ask 3 friends for their opinions, you read the comments section, and you find 1,000 sophisticated, logical reasons why your gut feeling must be wrong. And so you learn to distrust it. You learn to outsource your sense of truth. Over time, that inner voice becomes so faint you can no longer hear it at all, and you forget it ever existed. This leads to a state of profound decision paralysis. For every choice, from the trivial to the life-altering, the wind presents you with an infinity of options and a cacophony of conflicting advice. The fear of making the wrong choice, the choice that will be judged harshly by some unseen chorus, becomes so great that you make no choice at all. You remain frozen, standing at the crossroads, battered by the gales, waiting for a gust so strong that it simply pushes you down one path, absolving you of the responsibility of having to choose it for yourself. This is the state of the outsourced soul, a life lived by proxy, a consciousness managed by a committee of external voices. The natural impulse when faced with such a relentless wind is to fight it. You try to build a wall. This wall might be made of rigid ideology, a set of unshakable beliefs that allows you to summarily dismiss any voice that disagrees. It might be a wall of cynicism, a fortress of intellectual superiority, from which you can mock the foolishness of the windswept masses. You can argue with the voices. You can spend your days in comment sections, in debates, in a state of perpetual opposition, trying to prove your own perspective right by shouting down all the others. But this is an exhausting and futile war. You cannot build a wall high enough to keep out the atmosphere. You cannot win an argument with a hurricane. To define yourself in opposition to the wind is still to allow the wind to set the terms of your existence. Your energy is consumed by the fight, your focus remains forever external, and your identity becomes that of the resistor. You are still, fundamentally, controlled by the very force you are trying to defeat. The true path to freedom is not resistance but grounding. The solution is not to fight the wind, but to become so incredibly heavy, so deeply rooted, that the wind, for all its fury, cannot move you. This weight, this stability, does not come from accumulating more opinions or building stronger walls. It comes from a substance you have been taught to fear and avoid: silence. Silence is not an absence. It is not emptiness. It is a presence. It is the dense, still foundational element of the universe. It is the canvas upon which the noise is painted. To cultivate silence is to cultivate mass. It is to build your own center of gravity. It is to forge and drop a heavy, unshakable anchor in the depths of your own being. This anchor allows you to stay steady in the midst of the storm. The forging of this anchor is a practical and deliberate process. It is the creation of small, sacred islands of silence in the storm of your daily life. This is your next task. 3 times a day, for just 5 minutes, you will deliberately remove yourself from the wind. Find a quiet room, a parked car, even a bathroom stall. Set a timer, and for those 5 minutes, you will cut off all external input. No phone, no music, no podcast, no book. You are not trying to meditate in the formal sense. You are not trying to empty your mind or chant a mantra. Your sole task is to cease consumption. Your job is to simply sit and to let the wind blow through you rather than at you. At first, this silence will be terrifyingly loud. The echoes of the wind, the worries, the to-do lists, the phantom phone notifications, the arguments you are having in your head will all rush in to fill the vacuum. You will feel a powerful physical urge to reach for a distraction, to fill the void with noise. This is the withdrawal. Your nervous system is addicted to the storm. Your only job is to notice this urge, to feel its pull, and to not act on it. Simply stay put. Let the inner storm rage. Watch the chaotic thoughts and feelings swirl like debris caught in a whirlwind. By not feeding the storm with new input, you are allowing it to exhaust itself. Slowly, gradually, like sediment in a jar of shaken water, the inner noise will begin to settle. And in the clarity that emerges, in the quiet space between the gusts, something new will have a chance to be heard. It will be a whisper at first, a faint, tentative signal from your own intuition, a simple feeling, a quiet knowing. It is your own voice, remembering how to speak in a space that is finally quiet enough to hear it. The wind of the world will never cease. The voices will never fall silent. To expect them to is to wish for a world that does not exist, but your relationship to them can be fundamentally transformed. Through the consistent practice of cultivating inner silence, you are no longer the leaf tossed about by every current. You become the great, deeply rooted tree. You can feel the wind in your leaves, you can hear its music and its fury in your branches, but you are not uprooted. Your strength comes not from your rigid resistance, but from the depth and weight of your connection to the silent earth. You are the ship, safely at anchor in a deep harbor, able to watch the magnificent, terrible storm on the open sea without being dragged into its chaos. You are finally home in yourself, a point of stillness in a spinning world, and from this stable ground, you can now begin to choose your own direction, guided not by the fickle winds, but by the silent, steady pull of your own true north. You have dropped your anchor in the deep waters of silence. Within the raging storm of the world's voices, you have found a point of stillness, a quiet harbor. But this newfound awareness, this precious inner peace, is like a handful of clear water. It is fluid, potent, and alive. And if you simply open your hands, it will slip through your fingers, spill onto the ground, and be lost evaporating back into the dry, noisy air of your habitual life. Stillness, to be useful, requires a container. Awareness, to be transformative, needs a structure to hold it. You cannot carry water in an open palm. You must first build a vessel. This is the 5th chapter, and it is the most practical and perhaps the most resisted of all. This is the chapter on forging the vessel of the self. And the name of this ancient, powerful, and deeply misunderstood craft is discipline. The word itself lands with a thud. For most of us, discipline is a cold, hard word. It smells of punishment, of joyless restriction, of a stern-faced authority figure forcing you to do what you do not want to do. It is the voice of the drill sergeant, the rigid timetable, the denial of all pleasure. This perception is a ghost, a memory of how external discipline was used upon us as a tool of control. We were taught that discipline was a cage, but we are not talking about that. We are not talking about a force imposed from the outside. We are talking about a structure lovingly and consciously built from within. True self-discipline is not an act of self-punishment. It is one of the highest and most profound acts of self-love. It is the part of you that loves you enough to say no to the fleeting, impulsive desires that would harm you in the long run. It is the wise and compassionate parent to your own inner child, creating the sturdy guardrails on the playground so that the child can finally run and play with abandon, safe in the knowledge that it will not fall off the edge. Think of your life force, your potential, as a great river. Without discipline, this river has no banks. It spreads out in every direction, becoming a vast, shallow, stagnant swamp. Its power is diffused, its movement chaotic. Nothing can live in it for long, and it goes nowhere. This is the life of pure impulse, of reacting to every whim, of starting 100 things and finishing none. It may feel like freedom, but it is the freedom of formlessness, which is a kind of prison. Discipline is the act of building the banks of the river. By creating a channel, by setting boundaries, you do not diminish the water's power, you concentrate it. The river can now flow with purpose. It can gain speed and depth. It can carve canyons through stone. It can generate immense energy. It can nurture and sustain life all along its course. The banks do not imprison the river. The banks liberate it. This is the paradox and the power of discipline. It is the loving structure that allows for true directed freedom. Why, then, is it so difficult? If discipline is an act of love, why do we fight it so fiercely? When you decide to build these banks, to create a new habit, you will immediately encounter a powerful, cunning force of resistance. This force is called procrastination, but do not mistake it for laziness. Procrastination is not a passive state. It is an active strategy of self-sabotage, employed by the part of you that is terrified of change. The old self, the swamp dweller, is comfortable in the chaos. It thrives on impulse and instant gratification. It is the master of the path of least resistance. When you announce your intention to build a bank to wake up earlier, to exercise, to write, to meditate this, old self recognizes it as a mortal threat to its dominion, and so it fights back. It fights with 1,000 reasonable-sounding excuses. I'm too tired today. I'll start tomorrow when I have more energy. The conditions aren't perfect yet. I need to do more research first. I'm just not in the right mood. It won't be quality work. These are not reasons. They are the sophisticated defense mechanisms of an ego that fears being dismantled. It fears failure, yes, but on a deeper level, it also fears success. It fears the person you might become if you actually followed through. That person is unknown, and the ego fears the unknown above all else. The discomfort you feel when you are about to start a new, disciplined practice is the friction between the old self trying to pull you back into the familiar swamp and the new self trying to lay the first stone of the riverbank. The battle for your future is fought in these small, daily moments of resistance. To create this vessel, you must become a potter. The raw material is your intention, your clear and simple desire to change. This is the lump of soft, formless clay. It is full of potential, but in its current state, it cannot hold anything. The potter's wheel is the rhythm of daily life, the relentless turning of the sun and moon. You cannot stop the wheel from turning. Your only choice is what you do with its motion. The potter's hands are your conscious, moment-to-moment choices. It is the gentle but firm pressure you apply, guiding the formless clay of your intention into a specific shape. It is the decision, right now, to do the thing you said you would do, instead of the thing your impulses are screaming for. And then comes the most vital element of all, the fire. After the vessel has been shaped, it is still fragile. It is vulnerable. A single drop of rain could dissolve it back into mud. To gain its strength, its resilience, its ability to hold water, It must pass through the fire of the kiln. This fire is the unavoidable discomfort of growth. It is the burn in your muscles when you exercise. It is the frustration of sitting with a difficult problem. It is the boredom and restlessness you feel when you choose to meditate instead of checking your phone. It is every moment you want to quit. Our entire culture is built around avoiding this fire. We seek comfort at all costs. But in the craft of the soul, the fire is not the enemy. The fire is the agent of transformation. It is the intense heat that fuses the particles of clay together, turning it from fragile mud into enduring resonant ceramic. When you feel the fire of challenge, the burn of discomfort, you must learn to see it not as a sign to stop, but as proof that the vessel is being forged. You are in the kiln. You are being made strong. Do not run from the fire. Lean into it. It is the signature of your own becoming. So how do you begin? You do not begin by trying to build a giant, ornate amphora. The ego loves to set grand, impossible goals because it knows you will fail, and it can then say, "I told you so." You're just not a disciplined person. You must outsmart your ego by starting so small that failure is almost impossible. This is your task. Choose one thing, not a list of things. One, let it be a laughably simple, concrete, physical act. The moment your feet hit the floor in the morning, drink a single glass of water that you set out the night before. Or, the moment you get out of bed, make your bed. Not perfectly, just pull up the covers. Or, the moment you walk through the door in the evening, hang your coat on the hook instead of throwing it on a chair. The act itself is trivial. Its symbolic power is monumental. Every time you perform this simple, chosen act, you are keeping a promise to yourself. You are sending a powerful message from your conscious mind to the deepest parts of your being. The message is, I am someone who does what I say I will do. That is it. You are not just making a bed, you are forging integrity. You are not just drinking water, you are building a foundation of self-trust. Each successful completion is a vote cast for the new self, the self who is the potter, the self who builds. This tiny, repeated act of integrity is the first layer of glaze on your vessel. It is the proof that you can, in fact, hold a shape. It is the beginning of all larger discipline. Before you can build the great banks of the river, you must learn to lay a single, solid stone day after day after day. This is the work. It is not glamorous. It is not exciting. It is quiet, it is steady, and it is the most powerful thing you will ever do. You are becoming the vessel, strong and ready to hold the fire of your own awakened spirit. You have forged the vessel. Through the quiet daily practice of keeping your promises to yourself, you have built a container of discipline, a sturdy, Kailine-fired hearth of integrity. It is a magnificent accomplishment. But a hearth, no matter how perfectly constructed, gives no warmth. A vessel, no matter how strong, is just an empty shape. It is cold, it is dark, it is waiting. It is waiting for the essential element that transforms a container into a source of light and a house into a home. It is waiting for fire. This fire has many names. We call it willpower, motivation, passion, drive, spirit. But it is, in its essence, the vital, animating energy of your own life force. This is the 6th chapter, Tending the Inner Fire. For many of us, the hearth is cold. We live in a state of quiet, pervasive exhaustion, a spiritual chill that has nothing to do with the temperature of the room. We feel drained, apathetic, adrift. We know there are things we should be doing, goals we should be pursuing, but the energy required to even begin feels monumental. We look within for a spark of motivation and find only a bed of cold gray ash. We diagnose ourselves as lazy, as unmotivated, as broken. But you are not broken. You are simply a firekeeper who has forgotten the craft. Your fire has not gone out. It can never truly go out as long as you are alive. It has simply died down to embers, buried deep beneath the accumulated ash of neglect, damp fuel, and years of living on psychic autopilot. The constant wind of external voices has blown your heat away. The heavy gravity of your ghosts has compressed your spirit, starving it of the oxygen it needs to burn. You have tried to fuel your fire with the wrong things: the wet, smoky wood of external validation, the fleeting flash of empty pleasures. And so, the fire has retreated, conserving its energy, waiting in the darkness as a few faintly glowing coals. The work of this chapter is not to create a fire from nothing. It is to learn the sacred, patient art of tending these embers back into a steady, life-giving flame. The greatest obstacle to this work is a pervasive and crippling myth, a lie that has been whispered into the heart of our culture. The myth that you must first feel inspired in order to act. We sit before the cold hearth of our lives, wrapped in blankets of procrastination, waiting. We are waiting for a feeling, a bolt of lightning from the heavens, a sudden surge of passion, a magical wave of motivation that will finally make the hard work feel easy. We wait for the muse to appear, for the mood to be right, for the stars to align, and so we wait forever, because we have it backward. This is the central conflict, the paralysis that defines the state of low fire, the desire for the warmth of the flame versus the unwillingness to perform the uninspired act of striking the spark. Inspiration is not the cause of action. Inspiration is the reward for action. It is not the spark, it is the bonfire. The spark is something far humbler, far grittier. The spark is the friction generated by a single, small, often begrudging movement. The universe does not respond to your desire for a fire. It responds to the motion of your hands gathering the kindling. You cannot think your way into a new way of acting. You must act your way into a new way of thinking. Action is the flint and steel of the soul. The small, conscious decision to do the thing you have committed to, especially when you do not feel like it, is the strike that creates the first fragile spark. This is an alchemy. It is the transformation of resistance into energy. Every time you choose the new habit over the old, getting out of bed instead of hitting snooze, putting on your running shoes instead of staying on the couch, opening the blank page instead of opening a social media app, you are striking the stone. Most of the time, the spark will seem to die instantly, but it has landed on the tinder. It has created a pinpoint of heat. This heat is a tiny pulse of self-respect, a minuscule sense of accomplishment. It is almost imperceptible, but it is real. And it makes the next strike, the next small action, infinitesimally easier. This is the positive feedback loop of fire tending. Action creates heat. Heat makes the next action easier. The next action creates more heat. This is how you build a fire, not with a sudden explosion, but with a patient, persistent accumulation of small, deliberate sparks. The smallest, driest, easiest actions are your kindling. They are the tiny habits we spoke of in the last chapter. The act of making your bed is a dry twig. It catches fire instantly. It burns hot and fast, creating the perfect base for something larger. Consistent action on a more meaningful task is the log. It takes longer to catch fire. You may have to hold the flame of your discipline to it for some time. It may sputter and smoke, but once it catches, it provides a slow, steady, long-lasting burn. And what is the oxygen that this entire process needs? It is your attention. To perform an action on autopilot while your mind is elsewhere is to starve the fire of air. But to bring your full, conscious presence to the task, no matter how small or mundane, is to be the bellows, gently blowing on the embers, feeding them, encouraging them to grow. When you make your bed, feel the texture of the sheets. When you drink your water, feel its coolness in your throat. This infusion of presence into action is what truly coaxes the spirit back into a state of vibrant flame. But while action provides the spark, the quality and longevity of your fire will depend on the quality of your fuel. To burn with purpose, you must have purpose. An action performed for a shallow or external reason to impress others, to gain status, to meet an arbitrary expectation is like burning newspaper. It creates a big, bright, dramatic flash of flame, but it turns to ash in seconds, leaving you colder than before. An action performed for a deep, true, intrinsic reason is like burning a log of seasoned oak. It may not be as dramatic, but it provides a steady, radiant, enduring heat that can warm you for hours. This is why you must find your fuel. You must discover your why. This is your practical work for this chapter. Take your notebook and pen. At the top of a clean page, write down the goal you are pursuing, the change you wish to make. And below it, write the fundamental question, what is this for? Now answer it. Write down the first thing that comes to mind. Perhaps your goal is to get physically fit, and your answer is to lose weight and look better. This is a newspaper answer. It is fine, but it will not keep you warm on a cold night. Now, look at that answer and ask the question again. And what is that for? Why do you want to look better? Perhaps the answer is to feel more confident. Another good answer, but still kindling. Ask again, what is that confidence for? Perhaps the answer is, so I can show up more fully in my relationships and my work without being held back by insecurity. Now we are getting closer to wood. Ask again, and what is that for? Because I believe that being fully present and engaged is how I express love and contribute value to the world. And one last time, what is that for? Because that is what gives my life meaning. You have arrived at your log of oak. This core, reason this, deep, intrinsic. Why is your sacred fuel? Write it on a small card. Place it on your desk, your bathroom mirror, the dashboard of your car. This is not a motivational poster. It is a reminder of the nature of your fuel. On the days when the hearth is cold, on the mornings when the embers are glowing so faintly you can barely see them, do not try to force yourself to feel motivated. That is a waste of energy. Simply look at your why, remember the oak, and then perform the smallest possible act. Pick up the tiniest, driest piece of kindling you can find and strike the stone. The combination of a pure fuel source and a single small action is what guarantees that sooner or later a fire will be born. You are a firekeeper. It is a noble and ancient craft. Some days, your work will be to bank the coals so they don't burn too hot. Other days, your work will be to patiently blow on a single precious ember. Some days, you will simply enjoy the warmth of a steady, well-tended flame. Your task is not to have a roaring bonfire at all times, but to become a master of the processo, know your fuel, to practice your strike, and to never, ever let the fire go out. You have forged the vessel of discipline. You have tended the inner fire of your will. You now possess a container and a source of heat, a hearth and a flame. But fire, for all its life-giving warmth and power, is a consuming, volatile element. Its energy is intense. Its nature is to expand, to devour. Unchecked, this inner fire of passion and drive can scorch the very ground you stand on. Its heat can boil the waters of your own heart, turning your emotional world into a turbulent, scalding, blinding steam. A fire without a balancing principle is a destructive force. To be of use, your fire must be tempered. It must be brought into relationship with its opposite, the cool, profound, and clarifying element of water. This is the 7th chapter, the clarity of still water. Imagine that your emotional self is a deep lake. At the bottom of this lake lies a fine, soft sediment, the accumulated dust of your entire life. It is composed of all the material from our previous chapters, the glittering, sharp shards of the shattered mirrors of your identity, the heavy, dark silt of your unexamined past and its ghosts, your deepest insecurities, your oldest fears, your most tender wounds. In its natural state, when the lake is calm, the water is perfectly clear. You can see the sky reflected on its surface, and you can see the sediment on the bottom for what it is, a part of the landscape, but not the water itself. This state of clarity is your birthright. It is the natural condition of your consciousness. But the lake is rarely calm for long. The world constantly throws stones into your water. A critical comment from your boss, a thoughtless word from a loved one, a piece of frightening news, a traffic jam. Each one is a stone. plunging into your stillness. Sometimes the disturbance comes from within, a memory that surfaces like a great bubble of gas from the depths, bursting on the surface. The effect is always the same. The impact churns up the fine sediment from the bottom. The dark silt of your past fears mixes with the sharp shards of your insecurities, and the clear water of your awareness becomes a thick, murky, impenetrable brown. This is the state of emotional reactivity. In this state, you cannot see. Your vision is obscured by your own inner mud. A small fish swimming by can look like a terrifying monster. A harmless stick can appear to be a venomous snake. The reflection of the sky is gone, replaced by a swirling, chaotic brown. And from this place of blindness, from this muddy water, we make our worst decisions. We act out of a confusion we cannot even see, mistaking the turmoil of our own water for the reality of the world. The feeling of being in this turbulent water is deeply frightening. It feels like you are drowning, being pulled under by a force you cannot control. And our first, most powerful instinct when we feel we are drowning is to thrash. We fight for our lives. We kick and struggle and flail our arms, desperate to find the surface, to find solid ground. This thrashing takes many forms. Sometimes we lash out, blaming the person or the event that threw the stone. We send the angry email. We make the scathing comment. We slam the door. We believe that if we can just attack the source of the disturbance, the water will become calm again. Other times, we try to suppress the turmoil. We pretend the water is perfectly still, clenching every muscle in our body to try and force the turbulence into submission. We say, "I'm fine," through a gritted jaw, creating immense internal pressure that will inevitably explode later. And most commonly, we thrash about wildly, trying to swim for the shore of distraction. We drown our emotional turmoil in food, in alcohol, in endless work, in the scrolling hypnosis of our phones. We will do anything to avoid the terrifying sensation of being lost in our own muddy water. But here is the tragic irony of our struggle. When you thrash about in muddy water, you do not find clarity. You only kick up more sediment from the bottom. Your frantic, reactive movements are like a propeller, churning the silt and the water into an even thicker, more blinding slurry. Every angry word you speak, every resentful thought you entertain, every act of suppression or distraction only adds to the turmoil. You are caught in a feedback loop of your own making, where your reaction to the lack of clarity is the very thing that creates more of it. This is the internal conflict at the heart of our emotional lives, the desperate, thrashing impulse to do something versus the soul's deep, quiet need for stillness. The way out of this loop is not through a new strategy of thrashing. It is through a profound, revolutionary shift in identity. For your entire life, you have been taught to believe that you are your emotions. When anger arises, you say, "I am angry." When sadness flows through you, you say, "I am sad." You have identified yourself completely with the state of the water. The core message of this chapter, the truth that can set you free, is this: you are not the water. You are not the sediment. You are not the storm that churns it all up. You are the vast, silent, unchangeable basin of the lake itself. You are the conscious container in which the entire drama of the water takes place. The basin holds the water. It permits the storm. It contains the mud, but its own fundamental nature remains untouched. It is deep, it is still, it is strong. To realize this is to stop drowning. You are not the victim of the storm. You are the space that holds the storm. How then do you still the muddy water? You do not need a filter. You do not need to add a chemical. You do not need to fight it. The process is infinitely simpler. You let it be. You give it time and you give it space. And the inexorable, gentle law of gravity does all the work for you. The sediment, being heavier than the water, will, of its own accord, settle back down to the bottom. Your task is to simply create the conditions for this natural law to operate. Your task is to stop thrashing. This is the practice of the sacred pause. The moment you feel it, the hot flush of anger, the cold dread of fear, the sharp sting of jealousy, that is your signal. That is the moment the stone has hit the water. This is your cue. Before you say the word, before you type the reply, before you take the reactive action, you must do one thing. Stop. Just stop. And take 3 conscious breaths. This pause is the most powerful act you can perform. It is a circuit breaker for your conditioned reactivity. With the first breath, as you inhale, you will silently name the primary emotion. Not with judgment, but with the simple, objective curiosity of a scientist. Anger, fear, shame. This is an act of acknowledgement. You are seeing the water for what it is. With the second breath, as you inhale, you will ask, "Where is this in my body?" And you will feel it. Is it a tightness in your chest, a burning in your stomach, a lump in your throat? This act connects you to the raw, physical reality of the emotion, moving it out of the realm of abstract story and into a tangible sensation. With the third breath, as you inhale, you will imagine that you are creating a vast, benevolent space all around that physical sensation. You are consciously becoming the lake basin, giving the turbulent energy room to exist without it having to define you or consume you. These 3 breaths may only take 10 seconds, but in that sliver of time, you have performed a miracle. You have created a space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your freedom and your power. You have shifted your identity from being the turbulent water to being the calm, conscious container that holds it. You have stopped thrashing. And now, you can simply wait and watch. And the sediment will begin to settle. The anger, the fear, the sadness, they will still be there, lying on the bottom, but they will no longer be clouding your vision. The water will clear, and with clarity, you can see again. You can see the situation for what it truly is, not for what your past sediment has made it out to be. You can see the reflection of the sky on the surface once more, connecting you back to a larger, calmer perspective. From this place of deep, clear seeing, you can now choose your response. And an action chosen from clarity, powered by the inner fire you have so carefully tended, is an act of true wisdom and immense power. You have forged the vessel of discipline, a container of earth. You have tended the inner fire of your will. You have learned to still the emotional waters of your heart. You now possess structure, energy, and clarity. But a fire in a pot of water, for all its potency, is unstable if it is not placed on solid ground. A powerful engine and a clear navigation system are useless in a ship that has no keel, no ballast. It will be tossed and capsized by the first significant wave. For your newfound inner world to have any resilience, any real-world strength, it must be anchored. It must be returned to the most fundamental, most overlooked, and most powerful element of all. It must be returned to the earth. This is the 8th chapter, the resilience of earth. We live in an age of profound ungroundedness. We have become a species that lives from the neck up. Our consciousness resides not in our bodies, but in the abstract, non-physical realms of thought. We inhabit the kingdom of the mind. This kingdom has 3 primary territories: the misty, haunted lands of the past, filled with regret and nostalgia; the shimmering, anxious mirage of the future, a landscape of planning and worry; and the newest, most seductive territory of all, the digital ether, a world of pure information, disembodied connection, and curated identities. We spend our days as ghosts floating through these abstract worlds, and we treat our bodies as little more than inconvenient vehicles required to transport our heads from one place to another. We have forgotten that our body is not a machine we inhabit. It is our only true home. It is our only anchor to the living, breathing reality of the present moment. The consequence of this disembodiment is a chronic, low-grade anxiety that has become the background radiation of modern life. This anxiety is the hum of an engine that is not connected to any wheels, a motor spinning uselessly in neutral, generating immense heat and noise, but creating no forward motion. It is the natural state of a mind that has lost its mooring in the solid ground of the present. We are like kites whose strings have been cut, buffeted, and thrown by every passing current of thought and feeling, with no stabilizing connection to the ground below. We ignore the quiet wisdom of our bodies, the subtle signals of fatigue, of hunger, of tension, until they are forced to scream at us in the form of illness, injury, or burnout. We have become more invested in abstract opinions about the world than in the tangible sensory experience of the world itself. We have forgotten the profound intelligence in the feeling of sunshine on our skin, the simple sanity in the rhythm of our own breath, the deep peace in the solidity of the earth beneath our feet. The internal conflict here is a subtle but powerful one. It is the battle between our mind's addiction to complexity and our soul's deep, primal need for simplicity. When faced with the unease of being ungrounded, the mind's immediate impulse is to think its way to a solution. It will devise elaborate mental frameworks, read another dozen books on philosophy or psychology, listen to another 100 hours of podcasts, seeking a complex, sophisticated answer to a profoundly simple problem. The ego resists the simple solution of grounding because it feels beneath it. How can something as rudimentary as walking barefoot on the grass possibly address the complexity of my existential angst? It scoffs. The mind wants to solve the problem in a way that reinforces its own importance, in a way that proves its intellectual machinery is the ultimate tool. The practice of grounding is a radical act of humility. It bypasses the chattering, analytical mind entirely and goes straight to the source. It is a return to the body, to the senses, and to the earth. And the ego perceives this bypass as a threat to its sovereignty. This is where you must learn the wisdom of the earth. As an element, earth represents everything our abstract world is not. It is stable. It is patient. It is reliable. It is utterly and completely present. The ground beneath you does not have an opinion about your life. It does not judge your past. It does not worry about your future. It simply is. And in its silent, solid, unwavering presence, it offers a constant invitation to return home to reality. The metaphor to hold here is that of a great tree. A tree with shallow, weak roots lives in constant peril. The first strong wind can topple it. The first drought can wither it. But a tree that sends its roots deep into the earth becomes a force of nature. It can withstand hurricanes. It can endure seasons of hardship. It can bend without breaking. Its resilience comes not from the strength of its branches, but from the depth and tenacity of its connection to the ground. Your roots are not a metaphor. Your roots are your physical body and your sensory connection to the physical world. You have spent enough time exploring the fire of your will and the water of your heart. It is time to grow roots. True, enduring strength is not an idea you hold in your mind. It is a physical state of being grounded in the earth. The practices for growing these roots are not complex. They are acts of remembering a connection that is your birthright. They are about shifting your attention from the abstract kingdom of your head to the tangible reality of your senses. This is your practical work. First, find a patch of living earth. A park lawn, a patch of dirt in your backyard, a sandy beach. Take off your shoes and socks, and for 2 minutes, simply stand there. Close your eyes. Feel the texture of the ground beneath your feet. Is it cool or warm? Is it soft or hard? Feel the blades of grass between your toes. Feel the slight give of the soil. You are not imagining this. You are in direct physical contact with the 4.5 billion-year-old planetary body that is sustaining you in every moment. Let the frantic, anxious energy in your head drain down through the soles of your feet and into the vast, calm body of the earth. The earth can handle it. Second, choose one mundane physical chore that you perform every day. It could be washing the dishes, folding the laundry, sweeping the floor, or preparing a meal. And for today, you will perform this chore as a sacred ritual of grounding. If you are washing dishes, you will not listen to a podcast. You will simply wash the dishes. Feel the warmth of the water on your skin. Hear the sound of the plate being scrubbed clean. See the iridescent bubbles of the soap. Feel the solid weight of the dish in your hands. You will anchor your floating, distracted mind to the simple, honest physical reality of the task at hand. You are not just cleaning a plate. You are cleaning the lens of your own perception. You are tethering your consciousness to the bedrock of reality. Third, eat one thing today with your full, undivided attention. It could be a single raisin, a slice of apple, or the first bite of your dinner. Before you put it in your mouth, look at it. See its colors, its textures, smell it. Then, place it in your mouth, but do not chew immediately. Just hold it there. Notice the sensations on your tongue. Then, chew slowly. Notice how the flavor and texture change. Swallow consciously. For 30 seconds, you have brought your entire being into communion with the physical world. You have returned from the abstract lands of thought and have landed fully in the present moment, in the home of your body. These small, simple acts are how you grow roots. You do not need to move to the countryside or renounce the modern world. You simply need to pepper your day with moments of intentional, sensory contact with reality. By doing so, you create a foundation for your inner life. The vessel of your discipline, earth, now rests on solid ground. The fire of your will, fire, provides warmth and energy. The water of your heart, water, brings clarity and flow, and the whole system is stabilized by its constant connection to the physical world, earth. A person who is grounded is not immune to the storms of life. The winds will still blow, the rains will still fall, but you are no longer a kite with a severed string. You are the deeply rooted tree. You have a home base to return to, a source of unwavering stability within yourself. Your mind can still think, plan, and create, but it now has a strong, flexible tether to the simple, profound sanity of the earth. You have placed your vessel on the solid ground of earth. You have fueled it with the inner heat of fire. You have filled it with the clear, calm liquid of water. You now possess a being that is stable, energized, and emotionally balanced. You have explored the depths, but a life lived entirely on the ground, no matter how stable, is a life with a limited horizon. A tree, for all its deep roots, grows upward. It reaches for the sky. Now that you are securely anchored to the earth, you have the stability required to finally, safely, look up. You are ready to embrace the fourth and final element of this inner landscape, the boundless, liberating element of the open sky. This is the 9th chapter, the freedom of the open sky. For most of your life, you have been living in a psychological prison of your own making. It is a small, cramped, and claustrophobic cell. The walls of this prison are built from a single, powerful assumption. The assumption that everything is about you. This is the natural function and the primary delusion of the ego. It is a storyteller that insists on casting you as the main character in every single story. A car cuts you off in traffic, and it becomes a personal insult. A friend doesn't reply to your text, and it becomes a personal rejection. The weather ruins your plans, and it becomes a personal cosmic injustice. Every event, from the global to the mundane, is immediately processed through the ego's relentless filter. What does this mean for me? How does this affect me? How do I look in this situation? Your inner world becomes a tiny, self-contained weather system, where every minor worry is a personal thunderstorm, every bit of anxiety is a thick personal fog, and every fleeting joy is a sunbeam that you desperately try to clutch before the inevitable personal clouds roll in again. Living inside this prison of the personal is exhausting. It magnifies all suffering. It makes every problem feel monumental, uniquely yours, and intolerably heavy. It fosters a deep sense of isolation, the feeling that no one could possibly understand what I am going through, because the entire drama is staged on a set that has only one actor. The air in this prison is stale, recycled from your own looping thoughts and anxieties. There are no open windows, no sense of a wider world. You are the beleaguered monarch of a tiny, tumultuous kingdom of one, and you spend all your energy managing the constant, trivial, and ultimately meaningless palace intrigues of your own mind. You have mistaken your personal weather forecast for the state of the entire universe. The internal conflict of this chapter is the struggle between your attachment to your own clouds and the soul's yearning for blue sky. The ego clings to its weather. It loves its clouds. It identifies with them completely. When a dark cloud of anger drifts across your awareness, the ego immediately proclaims, "I am angry." When a heavy cloud of sadness settles in, the ego insists, "I am sad." These clouds, these dramas, these stories give the ego its sense of identity, its feeling of importance. A life without personal drama can feel, to the ego, like a terrifying void. To let go of your obsessive focus on your problems is, for the ego, a kind of death. And so you cling. You spend your days analyzing the shape and texture of your anxiety. You endlessly dissect the past conversations that created your resentment. You stare at your clouds, you poke them, you curse them, you try to reason with them, you even try to chase after the fluffy, white, pleasant ones, hoping to hold them in place. But this is all a futile effort. It is like trying to control the sky by shouting at it. You are a meteorologist who has come to believe he is the weather itself. The moment of liberation, the key that unlocks the door of your prison cell, is another profound shift in identity. It is the realization of this simple, cosmic truth. You are not the clouds. You are not the storm. You are not the rain, nor the wind, nor the fog. You are the sky. You are the vast, silent, and boundless awareness in which all of this weather appears. The sky itself is never harmed by the most violent hurricane. It is never stained by the darkest cloud. Its fundamental nature is one of limitless space, of effortless presence, of deep and abiding peace. The weather is a temporary, fleeting phenomenon that passes through the sky. It is not the sky itself. To realize this in the core of your being is to find freedom. Your thoughts, your emotions, your problems, your dramas, they are all just weather. They are impersonal, energetic patterns passing through the vast, open space of your consciousness. They are not you. They are just happening within you. You are the space that allows for it all, untouched, unchanged, and forever free. How do you practice being the sky? You do not have to create this vastness. You are already it. Your work is simply to remember it. You must practice shifting your perspective from the claustrophobia of the cloud to the spaciousness of the sky. This is your practical work for this chapter. The first practice is the simplest and most direct. The next time you feel trapped, the next time you are caught in a mental storm of worry or a dense fog of sadness, you must go to a window, or better yet, step outside. And you must physically look up at the sky. Don't just glance at it, gaze at it. If there are clouds, watch them. Notice their shape, their speed, their slow, inexorable movement across the vast blue or gray canvas. Realize that your own dark thoughts are moving in exactly the same way through the vast canvas of your mind. If the sky is a perfect, cloudless blue, then drink in that sense of infinite, peaceful space. By connecting your physical senses to the macrocosm of the sky above, you activate the memory of the microcosm of the sky within. You are reminding yourself of your own true nature. The second practice is an exercise in cosmic perspective, one you can do anywhere, at any time. Close your eyes. Bring your most pressing problem to the forefront of your mind. Feel its weight, its urgency, its seemingly all-consuming importance. Now, in your mind's eye, begin to float upward, out of your body. Look down and see yourself sitting there, a small figure wrestling with this problem. Float higher. See your room, your building, your street. Your problem is already becoming indistinct. Float higher still. See your entire town or city, a complex grid of lights and activity. Continue to zoom out, watching your country, your continent, become visible as you rise into the upper atmosphere. See the beautiful swirling blue and white marble of the earth hanging in the blackness of space. From this vantage point, where is your problem? Where is your anxiety? It has vanished, absorbed into the wholeness of the planet. Do not stop. Float past the moon. Watch the earth shrink to the size of a small ball. Float past the other planets, watching the sun grow into a magnificent, terrifying star. Go further, until the entire solar system is just a tiny point of light among countless others. Keep going, until you see the vast, spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, a river of 100 billion stars. Your sun is just one of them. Your planet is invisible. Your problem is less than a dream. From this silent, cosmic, unimaginably vast perspective, feel the nature of reality. Then, slowly, gently, begin to float back, bringing that sense of spaciousness with you as a gift. Come back to the solar system, back to the earth, back to your body, but do not lose the space. Your problem may still be there, but its context has been forever changed. It is a tiny cloud in an infinite sky. This is the freedom of the open sky. You have now integrated the 4 cardinal elements of your being. You have the stability and presence of earth. You have the energy and warmth of fire. You have the clarity and adaptability of water. And now, you have the boundless perspective and freedom of the sky. A person who is rooted in the earth, but whose consciousness is as open as the sky, is a whole and integrated human being. They can walk on the ground, but they are not trapped by it. They can feel the full spectrum of life's weather, the joy, the pain, the anger, the peace. But they are no longer a victim of the storm. They know that every cloud passes. And they know, with a certainty, that resides deeper than thought, that behind every storm, behind every cloud, the silent, radiant sun of their own awareness is always and forever shining. You have learned to see yourself as the sky, a vast and open consciousness untouched by the passing weather of your thoughts and moods. You have returned to the earth, feeling the solid, stable ground of the present moment beneath your feet. But as you stand in this newfound stillness, you look down at the landscape of your own life, the terrain of your own body and history, and you notice that it is not a smooth, unblemished plain. It is a landscape marked by time and experience. There are canyons carved by old rivers of grief. There are craters left by the explosive impact of loss. There are long, raised ridges of tissue formed under immense pressure. These are your scars, and you have been taught your entire life to see them as imperfections, as evidence of damage, as ugly flaws to be hidden, covered up, and denied. This chapter is about learning to see them not as flaws, but as a form of sacred text. This is the 10th chapter, Reading the Scars. In the quietest, darkest wing of the inner museum we have spoken of, there is a special collection. It is the exhibit of your flaws, your failures, your wounds. You keep it under lock and key. Here you store the memory of the business that failed, the relationship that ended in a spectacular, heartbreaking fire, the period of your life lost to depression or addiction, the time you betrayed your own values, the moment you were deeply and unfairly wounded by another. You hide these things away, not just from the world, but from yourself. You live in quiet terror that someone might discover this locked wing, that they might see you for what you secretly believe you are, damaged goods. This shame is a powerful, silencing force. Society worships the smooth, the new, the flawless, the unbroken. It sees scars as a sign of weakness, a failure of the original design. And so, we learn to live a lie. We apply a thick concealer to the blemishes of our soul and present a carefully edited, unscarred version of ourselves to the world. This hiding creates a second, and perhaps deeper, injury. First, there was the wound itself, the pain, the trauma, the loss. But now, layered on top of it, is the chronic, exhausting pain of the cover-up. It takes a tremendous amount of life energy to maintain a facade of unbrokenness, to constantly manage your story, to dodge the questions that might lead someone too close to a tender spot. This is the internal conflict, the deep, instinctual need to hide your perceived vulnerabilities versus the soul's quiet, persistent yearning for wholeness, for integration, for the peace that comes only from telling the truth. Hiding feels like the safe option. It is a survival strategy designed to protect you from judgment and rejection. But survival is not the same as living. Healing requires the very thing that hiding seeks to prevent. It requires exposure. A wound cannot heal if it is never exposed to the clean, fresh air. Your soul cannot become whole as long as you are actively hiding and hating the parts of you that have been broken and have healed stronger. To continue hiding is to remain a survivor, forever managing your wounds. To begin the work of reading your scars is to begin the journey of becoming a sage. The core message, the truth that can dismantle this museum of shame, is a radical reframing of what a scar truly is. A scar is not a sign of weakness. It is the emblem of your strength. It is not evidence that you were broken. It is the undeniable proof that you healed. It is a testament not to your fragility, but to the incredible, tenacious, life-affirming resilience of your own body, your own mind, and your own spirit. A scar is a story written in the language of flesh and memory. It says, "Here, this is where the world tried to break me. This is where the skin was torn. The heart was shattered, the spirit was tested, and this is where I refused to be destroyed. This is where I stitched myself back together. This is where I grew stronger." Every scar you carry is a physical monument to a battle you have survived. Imagine the Japanese art of kintsugi. When a beautiful piece of pottery is broken, the artisans do not try to hide the cracks. They do not use invisible glue to create an illusion of perfection. Instead, they mend the pieces using a special lacquer mixed with powdered gold, silver, or platinum. The cracks are not just repaired, they are illuminated. The lines of breakage become the most beautiful, most celebrated part of the object. The philosophy of kintsugi is that the object is more beautiful, more precious, and more interesting for having been broken. Its history is a part of its beauty. This is the invitation of this chapter. To practice the art of kintsugi on your own soul. To learn to see the cracks not as damage, but as the places where the gold can be poured in. Your scars are the veins of gold that tell the unique, beautiful, and heroic story of your life. How do you begin to read this sacred text to see this gold? You must begin by asking a different question. For your entire life, when you have looked at a scar, whether physical or emotional, you have asked the question of a victim, "Why did this happen to me?" This question is a trap. It leads only to a labyrinth of resentment, of self-pity, of powerlessness. There is often no satisfying answer to it. Today, you will abandon that question. You will pick up a new one. You will ask the question of a scholar, a survivor, a sage. You will ask, "What did this teach me?" This is your practical work. Take your notebook. Go to that locked wing in your museum and choose one scar. Select one memory of failure or pain that you have kept wrapped in shame. Now, at the top of a clean page, write the new question. Do not write the story of what happened. You know that story by heart. Instead, write, "Regarding the event, what did it teach me?" and begin to list the lessons. Be a patient archaeologist, gently brushing the dust away from a precious artifact. Perhaps the business that failed taught you the difference between a passion and a viable plan. It taught you humility. It taught you who your true friends were. Perhaps the relationship that broke your heart taught you about your own capacity to love, taught you about your boundaries, taught you that you could, in fact, survive a pain you thought would kill you. Perhaps the illness that laid you low taught you the incredible preciousness of a single ordinary day of health. Perhaps the period of depression taught you a profound empathy for the suffering of others. Do not rush this process. Search for the lessons, the gifts, the strengths that were forged in that fire. For every painful memory, there is a corresponding wisdom that you have carried forward. Your work is to excavate that wisdom from the rubble of the pain. The pain is the soil, but the wisdom is the flower that grew from it. You have spent enough time staring at the dirt. It is time to acknowledge the bloom. As you write, you are not erasing the pain or pretending it did not happen. You are honoring it by extracting its purpose. You are transforming it from a source of shame into a source of power. The person you are today, your compassion, your resilience, your wisdom, your empathy, your depth was not created in the easy, sunlit moments of your life. These qualities were forged in the dark. They were born in the healing of your wounds. To deny your scars is to deny the very source of your most beautiful and powerful attributes. You are not damaged goods. You are a masterpiece of resilience, a living map of survival, a luminous piece of kintsugi pottery. The gold in your cracks is the light you now carry into the world. When you learn to read your scars with reverence and gratitude, you finally become holenote in spite of them, but because of them. You have finally learned to read the truest and most sacred text of all, the story of your own becoming. You have learned to read the sacred text of your scars to find the gold within your wounds. In this act of compassionate self-reclamation, you have pieced your history back together, not as a source of shame, but as a map of your strength. You stand now, whole and integrated. But as you stand on this solid ground of self-acceptance, you arrive at a final, formidable frontier of awareness. It is a precipice of profound responsibility. It is the realization that the landscape of your life, with all its triumphs and all its wreckage, was not merely a place you passed through. It is a structure you have been building all along. You are not just the survivor of your life story. You are its chief architect. And the tool you have been using to build everything, in every moment, is choice. This is the 11th chapter, the architect of choice. For much of our lives, we live as if we are tenants in a house we did not build, subject to the whims of a landlord we cannot see. We operate from within a powerful and pervasive story called the victim narrative. This story is a fortress against the terrifying weight of responsibility. Its central theme is always, "It is not my fault." The fortress walls are built from our excuses. I am this way because of my upbringing. I can't succeed because the system is rigged. He made me angry. My anxiety prevents me from trying. I just have bad luck. In this story, we are fundamentally innocent, a passive object to which life happens. The locus of power is always external other people, societal forces, genetics, fate. We are the effect, never the cause. There is a deep and seductive comfort in this story. It is the comfort of the cage. Inside the cage of victimhood, you are absolved. You are blameless. You are free from the crushing burden of your own potential. If the fault is always outside of you, then you have no power. But you also have no responsibility. You can complain, you can garner sympathy, you can rage against the injustice of it all, and you never have to undertake the terrifying work of trying to change your own inner state. The cage may be painful, but it is a known pain. The lock is on the outside, and someone else has the key, so you are free to simply wait. The language of this cage is subtle. It is the language of, "I have to," "I can't," and "if only." But these are phrases of illusion. "I have to go to a job I hate" often means, "I am choosing to go to this job because I am not yet willing to face the uncertainty of leaving." "I can't speak up for myself" often means, "I am choosing to remain silent because I fear the potential conflict." We disguise our choices as necessities to avoid acknowledging that we are, in every moment, the ones holding the blueprint. The internal conflict, then, is the struggle between the comfortable powerlessness of the tenant and the terrifying freedom of the architect. It is the choice between remaining in the cage of blame or stepping out into the open air of radical responsibility. To step out is to accept a weight so immense it can make your knees buckle. It is the acceptance that while you cannot always control what happens to you, you are, and have always been, 100% responsible for your response. No one can make you angry. They can only act. and you then choose a response of anger. No situation can make you despair. A situation can only present itself, and you then choose despair as your reaction. This is the weight of the crown. Once you place it on your own head, you have no one else to blame. Your happiness, your misery, your peace, your turmoil, they are no longer the fault of the world. They are the results of the architectural decisions you are making in your own soul, moment by moment. To accept this is perhaps the most courageous act of a human life. The secret to wielding this power lies in discovering a place you have overlooked. Between the stimulus, the event that happens in the world, and your response, the action you take or the emotion you generate, there is a space. This space may be only a fraction of a second long. It may be infinitesimally small, but it is the entirety of your kingdom. It is the architect's office. It is the drawing board of your life. Everything that happens outside of you, in the world, is stimulus. A stock market crash, a diagnosis from a doctor, a declaration of love, an act of betrayal. You have almost no control over the endless stream of stimuli that life will present to you. To believe you can control the stimulus is the primary source of human suffering. It is the attempt to command the winds and the tides. Your power, your freedom, your entire capacity to build a life of meaning and purpose resides exclusively in that tiny, sacred space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your power to choose. Will you respond to betrayal with lifelong resentment, or with a difficult but liberating act of forgiveness? Will you respond to failure with self-pity, or with a resilient desire to learn? Will you respond to a beautiful sunset with distracted indifference, or with a moment of profound, grateful awe? The external events of our lives are the raw materials. They are the stone, the wood, the steel, and the sand. The quality of our lives is not determined by the quality of these materials. For some of us are given marble and some are given mud. The quality of our lives is determined by what we choose to build with the materials we are given. And this choice is made, again and again, in the sacred space of the now. How do you become a conscious architect? You must first become aware of the structures you are currently, and unconsciously, building. You must study your own blueprints. This is your practical work. For one entire day, from the moment you wake until the moment you sleep, your task is to become a forensic accountant of your own complaints. You will notice every time you complain, either out loud to another person, or silently in the monologue of your own mind. You are not to judge yourself or try to stop yourself. You are simply an observer, a data collector. You can make a small mark in a notebook or on your phone for each complaint logged. You will be astonished at the frequency. At the end of the day, you will review your data. You will look at the long list of marks, each one representing a moment where you chose to build a small monument to your own powerlessness. For each general category of complaint, the traffic, your workload, your partner, the state of the world, you will now perform the architectural analysis. First, you will ask, by choosing to complain about this, what experience was I choosing to build for myself? By complaining about the traffic, you were choosing to build an experience of frustration and victimhood. By complaining about your colleague, you were choosing to build an experience of resentment and superiority. You are seeing, for the first time, that your inner state is not a reaction to the event, but a creation by you in response to the event. Second, you will ask the architect's primary question: what else could I have built? What response was available to me in that sacred space that I did not choose? In the traffic, you could have chosen to build a moment of peace by listening to music. With your colleague, you could have chosen to build a bridge of understanding by seeking their perspective. You are not trying to change the past. You are training your mind to see the space. You are illuminating the moment of choice, so that next time you are more likely to notice it as it happens. This is the work of becoming the architect. It is the slow, deliberate process of reclaiming your own creative power. Life will continue to deliver its unpredictable shipments of raw materials to your construction site. Some days, it will bring sunshine and perfectly milled lumber. Other days, it will bring torrential rain and twisted, difficult stone. You do not control the deliveries, but you are the one who signs for them. You are the one who decides whether to let them rot in the yard or to use them to build a wall, a bridge, a shelter, or a cathedral. Your life is not the random weather that befalls you. It is the sanctuary you are building, choice by choice, breath by breath, in the sacred space of your own sovereign mind. You have learned to read your scars and have claimed your power as the architect of your inner world. You stand on the solid ground of your own being, holding the blueprint of your choosing. You feel a sense of clarity, of purpose. You are armed with your tools, discipline, awareness, perspective, and you are ready to build your cathedral. And so, with a confident heart, you step forward to begin the great work. But the path you find before you is not the lush, green, upward-sloping meadow you expected. Instead, you find yourself at the edge of a vast and silent expanse. A sea of sand stretches to a shimmering, featureless horizon. There are no signposts. There is no clear path. There is only the wind, the sun, and a profound, intimidating silence. You have arrived at the 12th chapter, the desert of the real. Our culture, especially the marketplace of self-improvement, sells a very specific fantasy about the journey of transformation. It is a highlight reel. It shows the dramatic, tearful breakthroughs, the sudden, lightning bolt epiphanies, the joyful, triumphant moments on the metaphorical mountaintop. It promises 7 easy steps to happiness, the secret to effortless manifestation, the hack that will change everything. We are sold the idea that growth is a constantly exciting, linear, upward climb. We become addicts of the aha moment, seekers of the next spiritual or emotional high. The initial stages of the journey often feed this illusion. When you first begin this work, the changes are rapid and exhilarating. You shed old skins, learn new concepts, and feel a thrilling sense of progress. It is like finding a lush oasis at the very edge of the wilderness, and we mistake this oasis for the destination. We believe the entire journey will be this refreshing, this verdant, this full of life. But the oasis is just the staging ground. The real journey begins when you leave the shade of the palm trees and take your first step into the endless sand. This is the experience of the desert. It is the long, quiet, and monotonous plateau that inevitably follows the initial excitement of growth. It is the period where your daily practices, your meditation, your journaling, your disciplined actions no longer feel profound. They feel like chores. The well of inspiration runs dry. The emotional highs cease. You keep doing the work, but you feel like nothing is happening. You look at the horizon, and it looks exactly the same as it did yesterday and the week before that. A terrible thought begins to creep in, a serpent whispering in the heat. This isn't working anymore. You've taken a wrong turn. This can't be the path. The real path would feel better than this. This is the great thirst of the soul, the deep and painful longing for a feeling of progress that no longer comes. The internal conflict here is immense. It is the battle between the ego's demand for entertainment and results, and the quiet, deeper commitment your soul has made to its own evolution. The ego is a tourist. It wants novelty. It wants scenery. It wants proof that the journey is worthwhile. It hates the desert. In the vast, silent monotony, the ego begins to starve. There is no drama to feed on, no progress to brag about, no one to impress, and so it screams for you to turn back. It tempts you with mirages, the memory of the easy comfort of your old life, or the shimmering illusion of a different, better, faster spiritual path just over the next dune. This is the point of greatest danger. This is the point where most travelers give up. They mistake the desert for a sign of failure rather than seeing it for what it is, the most advanced and essential stage of the journey yet. The desert is not a detour, it is the path. Its purpose is not to punish you, but to purify you. The vast, empty landscape is a crucible designed to burn away everything that is not essential. First, it purifies your motivation. The part of you that was doing this work for the emotional rush, for the spiritual brownie points, or to have an interesting story of transformation to tell others, that part of you dies of thirst in the desert. The only motivation that can survive here is a deep, quiet, intrinsic one, the why you have already uncovered. You learn to do the work not for how it makes you feel, but for the sake of the work itself. Second, the desert purifies your practice. It uncouples the effect of a practice from the feeling of a practice. You may meditate for 20 minutes and feel nothing but boredom and a restless mind, but the work is still happening on a deeper level. The roots are still growing, far below the dry surface. You learn to trust the process, not the immediate sensory feedback. You are building a faith that is not dependent on evidence. Most importantly, the desert purifies you. In the absence of external distraction and internal drama, you are forced to confront the unadorned reality of your own being. The sun of the desert burns away your illusions, your pretensions, your self-deceptions. Everything that is false within you is revealed to be unsustainable under these harsh, honest conditions. You cannot hide from yourself in the desert. You are left with a stark, simple, and incredibly powerful version of yourself. The person who enters the desert is not the same person who emerges on the other side. The spiritual tourist dies in the heat, and what is reborn is the seasoned pilgrim. How then do you cross this vast and intimidating terrain? You do not cross a desert by constantly scanning the horizon for the destination. That way lies madness and despair. You cross a desert by focusing your entire attention on the single footstep you are taking right now, and the next one, and the next. Your guide is not a map of the landscape, but the internal compass of your own discipline. This is your practical work for this chapter. When you wake in the morning and the first thing you feel is not inspiration, not excitement, but the dry, flat taste of monotony, you must recognize this as your moment of power. Do not consult your emotional weather report. It is useless here. Do not try to argue with your feelings or generate a state of motivation. You will only exhaust yourself. Instead, you must simply consult your discipline. Look away from the horizon of your feelings and look down at the compass in your hand. What is the next indicated action? What is the next small step your discipline demands? Is it to drink the glass of water? Then drink the glass of water. Is it to make the bed? Then make the bed. Is it to sit in silence for 5 minutes? Then sit in silence for 5 minutes. You perform the action without consulting your desire to do so. You do it because it is what you have committed to do. You must learn to trust the process more than you trust your mood. Your mood is the shimmering, unreliable mirage on the horizon. Your discipline is the steady, reliable North Star of your own integrity. In the desert, your feelings are a liar. Your discipline is your one true friend. This is the forging of true resilience. It is the strength that is not dependent on good weather or favorable conditions. It is the quiet, unshakable power of the pilgrim who has learned to walk without needing to see the destination, who has learned to find water where others see only sand. You learn that progress is not always felt. Growth is not always visible, but the simple, repeated act of putting one foot in front of the other, guided by the compass of your own deepest commitments, is what will inevitably, inexorably, lead you across the sand. The desert will end, but the strength you gained by crossing it will remain with you forever. You will no longer fear the dry times in your life or in your practice, because you will have learned the great secret of the pilgrim, that the desert is not an obstacle on the path. The walking itself is the path, and the only thing that matters is the next single step. You have walked the desert and have been purified by its stark, honest beauty. You have learned that your strength is not contingent on your feelings, but on the quiet integrity of your discipline. You have emerged a pilgrim, resilient and real. You now arrive at the next stage of your journey, and you find yourself standing before a plot of land that is uniquely yours. It is the garden of your life. And as you look upon it with your new, clearer eyes, you see that while it is full of potential, it has been untended for a very long time. The soil is fertile, but it has become overgrown. Invasive weeds of old habits are choking out the delicate flowers of your aspirations. The dead branches of past identities are blocking the sunlight. The ecosystem of your soul is out of balance. To cultivate the life you truly wish to live, you must first become a gardener. This is the 13th chapter, the ecology of the soul. Every day, the world throws seeds into your garden. The seeds of other people's opinions, the seeds of societal expectations, the seeds of your own limiting beliefs. Without a conscious gardener on duty, the most aggressive and invasive species always take over. Your inner garden has become cluttered with things you did not consciously choose to plant. There are the pervasive weeds of inherited beliefs, ideas you absorbed from your family or your culture that you have never stopped to question. Beliefs like, I am not a creative person, or I must always put others first, or success is not for people like me. These weeds drink the water and nutrients from your soil, leaving your true potential malnourished. There are the thorny vines of toxic relationships connections with people who consistently drain your energy, who subtly belittle your dreams, who thrive on negativity and drama. These vines wrap themselves around your healthiest plants, constricting their growth and blocking their access to the sun. Then there is the deadwood. These are the old versions of yourself that you have outgrown but have never pruned away. The role of the rebellious teenager, the cynical student, the people-pleasing employee. These old identities, once useful or necessary for survival, are now just dead weight. They produce no new leaves, no fruit. They simply occupy space, preventing the new, vibrant branches of your current self from emerging. Your garden is cluttered with the accumulated debris of a life lived without a gardener's hand-useless habits, mindless routines, grudges you continue to water, possessions that own you more than you own them. And the result is a feeling of being stuck, of being suffocated, of not having the space to breathe or to grow. The internal conflict here is a deep and primal one. It is the struggle between the soul's instinct for growth and the ego's fear of empty space. We become hoarders of the soul. We cling to these weeds and dead branches not because we love them, but because they are familiar. Their presence, however suffocating, fills the space, and we are terrified of empty space. The ego asks, if I let go of this draining friendship, who will I have? If I stop being the person who is always anxious, what will I think about all day? If I discard this limiting belief, who will I be without it? To weed the garden is to create emptiness, and emptiness feels like a void, like a death. We prefer the miserable comfort of a cluttered, overgrown prison to the terrifying freedom of a cleared field. And so we rationalize. We avoid the difficult work of gardening with 1,000 excuses. This friendship isn't that bad, really. I'll get rid of this clutter when I have more time. It's rude to say no to that invitation. These are not reasons. They are the delay tactics of an ego that is deeply attached to the known, even when the known is a source of suffering. To uproot a weed, even a painful one, can involve a strange kind of grief. You are letting go of a part of your story, a familiar landmark in your inner terrain. The act of clearing requires a courage that can look, from the outside, like ruthlessness, but is, in reality, a profound act of love. This is the core message of this chapter. True growth is not always about addition. It is often about a sacred and courageous act of subtraction. You do not create a beautiful garden by simply planting more flowers in an overgrown thicket. You create it by first, with great care and intention, clearing away everything that does not belong. You must reframe the act of clearing your inner world. You are not being destructive. You are being a loving and responsible gardener. When you pull a weed, you do so not because you hate the weed, but because you love the flower it is choking. When you prune a dead branch, you do so not out of anger at the branch, but out of a deep desire for the health and vitality of the entire tree. You are making space for the light. This is your right. This is your responsibility. You are the sole cultivator of your inner ecology, and you have the final say on what you allow to grow there. The health of your entire system depends on your willingness to say a firm but compassionate no to the things that are preventing your yes from flourishing. How do you begin this monumental task? You do not try to clear the entire forest in one afternoon. That way lies overwhelm and failure. You begin as a gardener always begins, with one small, manageable patch of ground. The practice of clearing starts in the physical world, where the results are tangible and immediate, and this success will give you the strength to move into the more subtle realms of your life. This is your practical work. First, choose one small, contained area in your physical environment. A single drawer in your kitchen, your bedside table, the glove compartment of your car. Do not choose the whole garage. Choose the drawer. Empty its contents completely. Wipe the drawer clean. Then, handle each item one by one. Ask of each item, is this truly useful to me or truly beautiful to me? If the answer is not a clear, resonant yes, then it is a no. Let it go, donate it, recycle it, or discard it. When you are finished, you will have a single, clean, orderly drawer. Close your eyes and feel the sense of peace, clarity, and lightness that this one small act of clearing has created. You have created a small pocket of order in a chaotic universe. Next, you will move to the digital realm. Open your social media accounts. Scroll through your feed with the eyes of a gardener. Which accounts are weeds? Which ones consistently sow seeds of anxiety, of envy, of anger, of inadequacy in the soil of your mind? You must be ruthless here. Unfollow, mute, unsubscribe. You are not attacking these people or accounts. You are simply choosing, as a responsible gardener, not to allow these particular seeds to be sown in your garden anymore. You are taking control of the informational soil in which your thoughts and feelings grow. You are removing the toxic pesticides and artificial fertilizers and choosing to cultivate an organic mental environment. Finally, you will move to the social realm. Look at your calendar for the week ahead. Is there one commitment, one meeting, one social obligation that you are dreading, one that you know, from past experience, will leave you feeling drained and depleted? Your task is to find a way to prune this dead branch. Perhaps you can send a polite email declining the invitation. Perhaps you can shorten the time you spend there. Perhaps you can choose not to engage in the gossip or complaining that usually dominates the interaction. This act of setting a boundary is the equivalent of building a small fence around your garden. It is a loving declaration that you value the health of your inner ecology enough to protect it from invasive species. By weeding your beliefs, pruning your relationships, and clearing your clutter, you are not creating a void. You are not creating emptiness. You are creating space. Sacred, fertile, sunlit space. And it is only in this cleared space that the things you truly want to grow, your talents, your passions, your deepest aspirations, will finally have the room, the nutrients, and the light they need to sprout, to grow, and to blossom. You have transitioned from being the passive victim of your own overgrown life to being its active, conscious, and loving gardener. Your ecosystem is now balanced, vibrant, and ready for a new season of intentional planting. You have become the gardener of your soul. You have cleared the weeds of old beliefs, pruned the dead branches of past identities, and created a clean, fertile space for new life to emerge. This garden is a masterpiece of potential. But a garden, no matter how beautiful, exists only in one time and one place, here and now. And yet, where is your mind? Where is the gardener? You have cultivated this sacred ground, but you are rarely home to enjoy it. You have become an absentee landlord of your own precious life. Your body is here, in the present, but your consciousness, the very essence of you, is a perpetual time traveler, lost in one of two phantom realms. This is the 14th chapter. The weight of a single breath. The first phantom realm you inhabit is the haunted museum of the past. You spend hours there every day, walking its familiar halls. You are not just visiting the exhibits of your scars, you are reliving them. You are also rewatching your highlight reels, the golden moments of triumph and happiness, trying to squeeze one more drop of feeling from a memory that has long since dried up. You are standing in the echo chamber of old arguments, rerunning the tapes, editing the script, saying all the clever things you wish you had said. You are bathing in the warm, stagnant waters of nostalgia, or shivering in the cold drafts of regret. This entire realm is populated by ghosts, and by giving it your attention, you give them your life force. You are trying to edit a film that was shot, developed, and released years ago. The second phantom realm is the shimmering, anxious mirage of the future. This is a land of infinite, branching pathways, and you frantically try to scout every single one of them. You pre-live your failures. You rehearse your anxieties. You hold imaginary conversations. You strategize for catastrophes that will almost certainly never occur, and you build elaborate contingency plans for a reality that exists only as a mental projection. You are a general fighting 1,000 phantom wars on 1,000,000 imaginary battlefields. This world is woven from the fragile thread of what if. It is a ghost story about a time that has not yet been born. The cost of this constant, obsessive time travel is catastrophic. It is the price of your own life. While you are busy excavating the ruins of the past or stress-testing the architecture of the future, your actual life is quietly unfolding, unnoticed. The miraculous, unrepeatable, and very real present moment is passing you by. The taste of the coffee on your tongue, the specific slant of the afternoon light in your room, the sound of a loved one's voice, the feeling of the solid earth beneath your feet, all of these real sensory riches are lost on you. You are not really living. You are either remembering or rehearsing. This chronic absence from your own life is the source of the deep, gnawing sense of disconnection, of unreality, that haunts the modern soul. We feel like we are missing something, and we are. We are missing the only thing that is ever truly ours, the present moment. Why are we so addicted to being elsewhere? This is the chapter's internal conflict. It is the struggle between the powerful, gravitational pull of the thinking mind toward the phantom realms and the profound, healing simplicity of the now. The addiction is twofold. The past, for all its pain, offers the comfort of the known. The story is written, the outcome is certain. The future, for all its anxiety, offers the illusion of control. By worrying, by planning, by strategizing, a part of us believes we can tame the wild uncertainty of what is to come. The present moment, by contrast, often feels boring or uncomfortable to the restless ego. It is too simple, too real. There is no dramatic story to sink its teeth into. And so, the mind, a wanderer by its very nature, flees. It flees the quiet reality of the now for the dramatic cinema of then, or the compelling strategy game of soon. To simply be here feels like a kind of death to the part of us that thrives on doing, thinking, and becoming. How do you break this addiction? How do you return from these phantom lands and come home to your life? You do not fight your way back. You do not try to wrestle your mind into submission or build a fortress against thought. The mind is a wanderer, that is its nature. To fight it is to become entangled in its struggle. The way back is quieter, gentler. You must learn to follow a thread, a lifeline that has been with you since your first moment of life and will be with you until your last. It is the golden thread that connects the abstract world of your mind to the tangible reality of your body. This thread is your breath. Your breath is the ultimate anchor. Your mind is a ship tossed on the restless ocean of thought, drifting into the fogs of the past and the storms of the future. Your breath is the heavy, simple, reliable anchor that you can drop at any moment, and it will immediately pull the ship of your awareness out of the chaotic waves of thought and down into the deep, silent, peaceful reality of the present. Your breath is the bridge. It is the sacred structure that connects the two worlds you inhabit, the inner world of your mind and the outer world of your body. When you lose yourself in thought, you have abandoned the body. When you bring your attention to the physical sensation of your breath, you walk back across the bridge and re-enter your own home. Your breath is the steady, faithful rhythm of life itself. It does not exist in the past. It does not exist in the future. It is happening only and always now. To pay attention to your breath is to align yourself with the drumbeat of reality, stripped of all story, all drama, all illusion. The practice, then, is not to try and force your mind to stay in the present. That is impossible. The practice is to shorten the time you are lost in the phantom realms without knowing it. It is the practice of gentle, repeated return, and your breath is the homing beacon. This is your practical work. Take out your phone, or look at your watch, or your computer. Set a recurring silent reminder for 3 or 4 random times throughout your day. The alert should not be a jarring noise, but a gentle vibration, a quiet signal from your real self to your lost self. The message of the alert should be a simple, non-judgmental question. Where is your breath right now? When this reminder goes off, no matter what you are doing, no matter how lost in thought you are, you will perform the sacred act of pausing. You will not judge yourself for being lost. You will simply and gently stop. Stop the inner monologue. Stop the mental movie. And for just a moment, you will bring your full, undivided attention to the physical reality of your breathing. Take one conscious breath. Feel the coolness of the air as it enters your nostrils. Feel your chest or your belly rise. Feel the slight pause at the peak of the inhalation. Then feel the warmth of the air as you exhale, the gentle release of your body letting go. That is all, just one. Then take a second one, with the same quiet, curious attention, and then a third. For these 10 or 15 seconds, you have come home. You have returned from the phantom lands of thought and have landed squarely in the reality of your own life. Then, you can release the practice and continue with your day. The goal of this practice is not to achieve some mythical state of permanent, uninterrupted presence. That is another fantasy. The goal is to weave a new habit into the fabric of your consciousness, the habit of return. Each time the reminder sounds, and you return to your breath, you are strengthening a neural pathway. You are building the muscle of presence. You are training yourself gently and repeatedly to come home. Your life is not the story of your past, nor the fantasy of your future. Your life is a string of these present moments, and nothing more. By learning to inhabit more of them, anchored by the simple, profound, and undeniable weight of a single conscious breath, you finally begin to live. You have learned to anchor yourself in the present moment, to return from the phantom lands of past and future by following the golden thread of your breath. You are beginning, perhaps for the first time, to actually inhabit your own life as it unfolds. But as you arrive here, in the raw reality of the now, you may feel a sense of anticlimax, a faint disappointment. You discover that the present moment is not always a dramatic, cinematic vista. It is not a continuous fireworks display. More often than not, the present moment is ordinary. It is the feeling of the chair beneath you. It is the humming of the refrigerator. It is the act of washing a dish, of folding a piece of laundry, of waiting for a traffic light to change. We have been taught to believe that meaning, that the sacred, that life itself, resides in the extraordinary. We have been conditioned to chase peak experiences, to live for the mountaintop moments. This chapter is about the radical, revolutionary discovery that the holiest ground in the entire universe is the 3 feet of space around you, and the most sacred time is now. It is about learning to build an altar not of gold and marble, but of the simple, overlooked substance of your ordinary life. This is the 15th chapter, the altar of the ordinary. Our culture is driven by a relentless cult of the peak experience, We are taught to structure our lives as a series of highlights. We live for the weekend, the vacation, the promotion, the wedding, the party. We believe that these big events are the load-bearing walls of a meaningful life, and that all the time in between the commutes, the chores, the quiet evenings is just empty, insignificant filler. It is the waiting period, the dull intermission we must endure before the next exciting act begins. This mindset is amplified 1,000 times over by the curated realities of the digital world. We scroll through the peak moments of other people's lives, their exotic travels, their romantic engagements, their career triumphs, and we compare their highlight reel to our own behind-the-scenes footage. The inevitable result is a feeling of deficiency, a gnawing sense that our ordinary life is somehow less than, that the real, vibrant, meaningful life is happening somewhere else, to someone else. The catastrophic consequence of this mindset is that we devalue and effectively discard the vast majority of our own existence. If life is only lived in the peaks, then we are choosing to be unconscious for 99% of our time on Earth. We treat our ordinary moments as obstacles to be overcome, as problems to be solved, or as empty spaces to be filled with distraction as quickly as possible. We wash the dishes while mentally planning our evening. We drive to work while replaying an argument from yesterday. We walk from one room to another while scrolling on our phone. We are never where we are. We are ghosts in our own homes, sleepwalkers in our own lives. This is the great internal conflict, the desperate, conditioned impulse to escape the ordinary, versus the quiet, radical invitation to engage with it more deeply than ever before. The ego despises the mundane. It finds no drama there, no story, no sense of specialness. It screams, "This is boring. This is meaningless." Let's think about something more exciting. The ego believes that meaning is a destination to be reached, a treasure to be found in some distant, spectacular place. It cannot fathom that meaning is not a thing to be found, but a quality of attention to be brought to whatever is already here. The sacred is not a place you go to, it is a way you show up. This is the core message that can transform your entire existence. There is no such thing as a mundane moment. There are only moments to which we have brought a mundane level of attention. Any action, no matter how simple, repetitive, or ordinary, can be transfigured into a holy sacrament through the alchemy of your full and loving presence. This is the practice of building the altar of the ordinary. Your kitchen sink, covered in soap suds, can be your altar. Your messy desk at work can be your altar. The driver's seat of your car can be your altar. It is not the objects or the location that make a place holy. It is the quality of reverence and attention that you bring there. You consecrate the space with your own presence. The goal of a spiritual life is not to make your life more extraordinary. It is to become more awake to the profound, miraculous, and overwhelming extraordinariness of the life you already have. The kingdom of heaven is not found by escaping the ordinary, but by penetrating its depths with the light of your awareness. How do you learn this practice of consecration? You begin by choosing to transform a single, ordinary act into a sacred ceremony. You must choose an activity that you do every single day, something repetitive and mundane. Perhaps it is the act of brushing your teeth. Perhaps it is washing your hands. Perhaps it is making your morning cup of coffee or tea. For the next week, every time you perform this chosen act, you will do so as if it is the most important spiritual ritual of your day. You will bring the full weight of your attention, the full capacity of your senses, the full reverence of your heart to this simple task. Let us take the example of making a cup of tea. You are not just making tea, you are performing a tea ceremony. Your small kitchen is now a temple, and you are its sole priest. Begin by noticing your intention. Now, move with deliberateness. Feel the weight and coolness of the kettle as you carry it to the sink. Hear the musical sound of the water filling it. Place it on the stove, and as you turn on the flame, acknowledge the element of fire, the source of warmth and transformation. While the water heats, listen. Hear the silence, then the first faint whispers and hums, then the rising crescendo of the rolling boil. You are listening to the sound of energy being infused into water. Select your mug. Feel its solidity, its smoothness, its emptiness waiting to be filled. Place the tea bag in the mug. When the water is ready, watch the steam billow as you pour. See the water, once clear, begin to slowly transform, taking on the color and essence of the tea leaves. It is an act of alchemy. Hold the warm mug in both hands. Feel the heat transfer into your palms. Lift it and inhale the aroma. This is the soul of the tea. Then take the first sip. Do not just gulp it down. Let the warm liquid rest in your mouth. Notice its taste, its texture, its effect. Feel it travel down into your body, bringing its warmth with it. For these 3 minutes, this ceremony is your entire universe. You are not thinking about your to-do list. You are not listening to the news. You are simply and completely present. You are making tea. By bringing this level of total reverent engagement to one small act, you build the capacity to bring it to all acts. You are training your attention like a muscle. You learn to wash the dishes with the same focus, feeling the warm water and the smooth surface of the plate as a form of sensory meditation. You learn to fold laundry with a gentle deliberateness, treating each piece of clothing as a sacred vestment. You learn to walk from your car to your front door with your attention on the feeling of your feet on the ground and the air on your skin, rather than lost in the phantom worlds of your mind. Slowly, miraculously, the distinction between the sacred and the profane begins to dissolve. Life ceases to be a series of dull chores punctuated by occasional moments of excitement. It becomes a continuous, flowing ceremony. The waiting, the filler, the boring in-between moments reveal themselves to be just as holy, just as rich, just as pregnant with reality as the peak experiences. You discover you do not need to climb a mountain in Tibet to find a moment of profound peace. It is available to you right now, in the feeling of your own breath, in the warmth of your own teacup, at the altar of your own ordinary life. You have finally stopped searching for meaning and have started to create it, moment by moment, with the power of your own consecrated attention. You have finally come home. You have learned to build an altar of the ordinary, to find the sacred in the simple, present moment, by bringing your full attention to the life you are actually living. As you cultivate this quiet, grounded presence, you will begin to notice a new faculty awakening within you. It is not a thought. It is not an emotion. It is a subtle, nonverbal sense of knowing. It is a quiet pull in a certain direction, a faint resonance of yes, or a subtle dissonance of no that arises from a place deeper than your thinking mind. For years, you have been taught to ignore this signal, to dismiss it as illogical or fanciful. But this quiet, inner knowing is your birthright. It is the voice of your own deepest intelligence. It is the needle of your inner compass, and this chapter is about learning to trust its guidance. This is the 16th chapter, The Compass of Intuition. Our modern world has enthroned a single king, the rational mind. From our earliest days in school, we are trained to worship at its altar. We are taught that the only valid way of knowing is logical, analytical, verbal, and supported by external data. We learn to make pro and con lists, to gather evidence, to construct flawless arguments, to trust the spreadsheet over the spirit. We have become masters of the map. We can read its symbols, we can calculate distances, we can plot a course, but in our complete devotion to the map, we have forgotten that we were also born with a compass. Intuition, that deep, nonlinear, holistic sense of gut feeling, has been systematically devalued and dismissed. It has been called primitive, superstitious, unscientific, and unreliable. We are told to be reasonable, to think it through, to silence the quiet whisper in our hearts if it cannot produce a 10-point PowerPoint presentation to justify its own existence. The result of this imbalance is a profound and tragic disconnection from our own inner wisdom. The faculty of intuition is like a muscle. Unused, it atrophies. We have let it grow weak, and we have come to distrust its faint signals. This has led us to make countless decisions that were perfectly logical on paper, but felt deeply, fundamentally wrong in the core of our being. We took the sensible job that is now slowly draining the life from us. We entered into the relationship that checked all the boxes but leaves our heart feeling cold and lonely. We followed the well-reasoned advice of others, straight off a cliff of our own quiet misery. We have been navigating with a flawless map, but in the wrong direction, because we have been ignoring the steady, silent pull of our own true north. The hum of dissonance you have felt for so long is the sound of your life vibrating out of alignment with the needle of this inner compass. The internal conflict here is a daily battle fought in the territory of every significant choice. It is the war between the head and the gut. Your intuition will speak to you. It will deliver its wisdom as a simple, clear, instantaneous signal. Standing in front of a potential business partner, your gut may simply say, no. It will not offer a reason. It will not provide evidence. It is a holistic assessment delivered as a single resonant feeling. Immediately, the rational mind, the king, will launch its attack. Why? It will demand. That's absurd. He seems perfectly qualified. His proposal is sound. You have no data to support this feeling. You are being paranoid. This is just your fear of success talking. The mind demands a linear argument, a logical sequence, a justification it can understand. And because the intuition does not speak in that language, the mind dismisses it. We have been conditioned, time and time again, to allow the loud, articulate arguments of our rational mind to shout down the quiet, profound, and wordless wisdom of our intuitive self. We have been taught to trust the map, even when the compass is spinning, telling us we are walking directly into a swamp. It is time to reframe and reclaim this essential part of your being. Intuition is not magic. It is not a supernatural gift bestowed upon a chosen few. It is a natural, biological, and psychological faculty that is your human birthright. It is simply a different kind of intelligence. Your conscious, rational mind is a serial processor. It can only think about one thing at a time, in a linear sequence. But your subconscious mind is a massive parallel processor. It is constantly absorbing millions of bits of data that your conscious mind does not register. The subtle shift in someone's tone of voice, the flicker of a micro expression across their face, the energetic feeling of a room, the patterns from your own past experiences. Intuition is the summarized conclusion of this vast, subconscious data processing. It delivers the final report without showing you all the messy calculations. It speaks in the language of feeling, of sensation, of a gut instinct, because it is deeply connected to the older, more primal parts of our nervous system that communicate not in words, but in the visceral language of the body. Your inner compass does not think about where north is. It feels the invisible magnetic field of the earth and aligns itself accordingly. Your intuition works the same way. It feels the invisible energetic field of truth in a situation and aligns itself with it, giving you a simple, clear pull. How then do you learn to read this compass, to trust its guidance? You must learn to listen to the language it speaks. It does not speak English or any other verbal tongue. It speaks the ancient, universal language of physical sensation. The practice of learning to hear it is the practice of somatic inquiry, of asking your body for its wisdom. This is your practical work for this chapter. The next time you face a significant choice, you will engage in a two-step process. First, you must honor the king. Engage your rational mind fully. Do the research. Make the pro and con list. Talk to trusted advisors. Analyze the situation from every logical angle. You must satisfy the mind's need for data and process. This is the act of studying the map. Do not skip this step. The goal is not to abandon logic, but to integrate it with a deeper wisdom. Second, once the rational work is done, You must step out of the throne room of the mind and enter the sacred temple of the body. Put the lists and the analyses away. Find a quiet place to sit for a few minutes. Close your eyes. Take several deep breaths, letting go of the mental chatter and dropping your awareness down, out of your head and into your physical torso. Now, you will hold one of the potential choices in your mind. Imagine, for example, that you have decided to take the new job. Do not think about the pros and cons. Simply hold the felt reality of that choice in your awareness. And then, you will ask your body a simple question: how does this feel? And then you listen, not with your ears, but with your entire field of inner sensation. Notice the subtle shifts in your physical state. Does your chest feel tight, heavy, constricted? Does your stomach feel like it's in a cold, hard knot? Does your body feel like it is subtly pulling back, recoiling? This is the somatic signature of no. Or, do you feel a sense of openness in your chest, a feeling of warmth and expansion? Does your stomach feel calm and settled? Does your body feel like it is subtly leaning forward, as if in quiet resonance? This is the somatic signature of yes. This is the reading from your compass. It is subtle. It is quiet. It requires you to be still enough to feel it. The goal is to become a master of both map and compass. When your rational mind and your intuitive body both point in the same direction, you can proceed with tremendous confidence and power. When your map tells you one thing, and your compass tells you another, it is a signal for caution. It is a sacred invitation to pause, to listen more deeply, to gather more information, to question your own assumptions. By learning to honor and integrate this deep, quiet, bodily wisdom, you tap into a guidance system that is far more profound and reliable than your thinking mind alone. You learn to navigate your life not just by what makes logical sense, but by the unshakable, resonant feeling of what is true. You have learned to listen to the quiet, subtle hum of your own intuition, to trust the inner compass that points toward your true north. But this compass is a delicate instrument. Its needle is easily disturbed by the magnetic fields of other people's wants, by the noise of the world's demands, by the constant vibration of social engagement. To read its guidance clearly, to hear its faint and crucial whisper, you cannot be perpetually surrounded by the clamor of the tribe. You must be willing to periodically step away. You must be willing to enter a space that our culture has taught us to fear, a space we have tragically confused with failure and despair. You must learn to distinguish between the desolate poverty of loneliness and the immense, restorative wealth of solitude. This is the 17th chapter, the sovereignty of solitude. First, we must understand the nature of the thing we fear. Loneliness is not the state of being physically alone. It is the painful internal experience of disconnection. It is the feeling of being unseen, unheard, and fundamentally separate. You can be achingly lonely in the middle of a roaring party, in a busy office, even in your own bed lying next to another person. Loneliness is a state of inner lack. It is the feeling that a crucial part of you is missing, and that you must find it in the attention, approval, or presence of another. This feeling is the direct result of the fragmented, mirror-dependent self we have already explored. When you believe you exist only as a reflection in the eyes of others, then to be alone is to cease to exist. It is a terrifying void. Our entire culture is built upon a deep and profound fear of this void. We see a person eating alone in a restaurant and we feel a pang of pity. We pathologize the state of being alone, equating it with being unwanted, with being a social failure, and so we flee from it. We fill every spare moment of our lives with noise and distraction to keep the boogeyman of loneliness at bay. We turn on the television not to watch it, but just for the sound of other voices in the house. We scroll endlessly through our phones while waiting in line, a desperate attempt to feel connected to the digital hive mind. We say yes to social invitations we have no desire to accept, simply to avoid the prospect of a quiet evening at home with the one person we are most afraid of, ourselves. We have become terrified of our own company. This is the great internal conflict. the addictive, compulsive pull toward external connection and distraction, versus the soul's deep and terrifying invitation to come home to itself. Imagine you are the ruler of a vast inner kingdom, but you are a terrified ruler. You fear that if you were to sit alone on your throne, in the great silent hall of your own consciousness, you would discover that you are an imposter, that your kingdom is a sham, and that you have no idea how to actually govern your own life. And so, you spend all your time in the bustling courtyards and marketplaces, seeking the noise, the validation, and the distraction provided by your subjects. You are afraid to enter the throne room because you are afraid of what you might find there in the silence. You are afraid to face your unresolved grief, your unfulfilled desires, your deepest anxieties, and the profound, existential questions that the noise of daily life so effectively keeps at arm's length. It is time to reframe this entire experience. It is time to draw a bold, clear line between two words that we use interchangeably but are, in fact, polar opposites. Loneliness is the painful absence of another. Solitude is the joyful and powerful presence of oneself. Loneliness is a state of lack, of poverty. Solitude is a state of richness, of wholeness, of immense wealth. Loneliness is something that happens to you, a feeling of being left out. Solitude is something you choose, an act of coming home. It is in the fertile kingdom of chosen solitude that the real work of integration happens. It is the sacred space where the wisdom from your experiences can finally settle and become a part of you. It is the quiet room where the faint whisper of your intuition can finally be heard without distortion. It is the deep well from which you draw your own original thoughts, your own creativity, your own unique perspective on the world. Solitude is not an escape from life. It is the necessary condition for a life of depth and meaning to take root. To willingly choose your own company is the ultimate act of self-trust. It is the declaration of your own sovereignty. How, then, do you claim this kingdom? How do you learn to sit on your own throne without fear? You must begin by making formal appointments with your own sovereign self. You must treat your time alone with the same seriousness and commitment as a meeting with the most important person in your life, because it is. This is your practical work. Look at your calendar for the coming week. Find a block of time. It could be 2 hours on a Sunday morning. It could be a Tuesday evening. Block it out. Write, "Date with myself" in the calendar. This appointment is non-negotiable. It is sacred. When the time arrives, you must prepare the throne room. This means consciously removing all external distractions. Your phone must be turned off, not just silenced. Your computer and television must be off. Let the people you live with know that you are not to be disturbed. You are sealing the borders of your kingdom for a short time to allow the ruler you to sit in peace. The intention for this period of solitude is not to be productive. It is not to solve a problem or accomplish a task from your to-do list. The sole intention is to simply be present with yourself, for yourself, in a spirit of open and loving companionship. What do you do in this time? The answer is, you do whatever your authentic self desires when it is no longer performing for an audience. Perhaps you will simply sit in a comfortable chair and watch the light change outside your window. Perhaps you will put on a piece of music and allow yourself to be completely absorbed by it. Perhaps you will go for a silent, solitary walk in nature. You might write in your journal without any agenda. You might draw or paint or dance. The specific activity is utterly irrelevant. The how is everything. You are doing it with yourself, as an act of friendship. You are listening to your own impulses. You are getting to know the person you are when no one else is around. At first, it may feel awkward, even boring. The urge to reach for your phone will be immense. That is the addict's itch. Your only task is to notice it, and to gently return to your own company. By practicing this, by keeping these sacred appointments, you fundamentally change your relationship with yourself and with others. You learn that your own company is not a void to be feared, but a rich and restorative kingdom to be explored. You are no longer a beggar, seeking scraps of attention and validation from the outside world to feel whole. You are a sovereign, cultivating a rich inner life. And from this place of fullness, your interactions with others are transformed. You no longer seek connection to escape yourself, but to share the overflow of the peace and richness you have cultivated in your solitude. You become a joy to be around, because you are not taking, you are giving. You have become a source of warmth, not a drain on the energy of others. You have learned that the throne room of your own consciousness is not an empty, terrifying chamber. It is the most peaceful, powerful, and regenerative place in the entire universe. It is your home. You have journeyed inward to the throne room of your own consciousness. You have cultivated your kingdom in the fertile quiet of solitude. You are centered, you are clear, you are sovereign. Within you now lies a deep well of potential. Your inner world is rich and ordered, but potential, by itself, is a silent, static force. A powerful engine that is never engaged, moves no one. A brilliant architectural blueprint, filed away in a drawer, provides no shelter from the rain. The journey inward must, eventually, turn outward. The final step in this stage of your transformation is to build a bridge between the person you have become on the inside and the life you live on the outside. It is the bridge between being and doing. This is the 18th chapter, The Resonance of Action. For many of us, this bridge is the most terrifying place of all. We can become masters of the inner world, connoisseurs of insight, scholars of self-awareness, yet remain paralyzed when it comes to taking real, tangible action in the physical world. We find ourselves trapped in the beautiful, intricate prison of analysis paralysis. We are always preparing to begin. We read one more book on the subject. We take one more online course. We create one more revision of the business plan. We wait for the perfect moment, for the stars to align, for a guarantee of success that will never come. We tell ourselves that this constant preparation is a productive and responsible use of our time. But we must be ruthlessly honest with ourselves. More often than not, it is a sophisticated and highly defensible form of procrastination, born of a deep and profound fear. What is it that we fear? We fear failure. As long as our grand plan remains a pristine theory in our minds, it is perfect. It cannot fail. But the moment we take the first, clumsy, real-world action, we expose that beautiful theory to the messy reality of friction, of gravity, of other people. We risk discovering that our plan was flawed. And so, to protect the perfection of the idea, we sacrifice its actual existence. We fear imperfection. We wait for the ideal conditions, for the day we finally feel ready, inspired, and 100% certain. But that day will never arrive. We also fear judgment. What if I try this and it isn't good enough? What if people laugh? What if they see me stumble? The fear of looking foolish keeps us standing still, preferring the quiet dignity of inaction to the potential embarrassment of a public attempt. And so we become master theorists of lives we never lead. We have a perfect understanding of the principles of swimming, but we never get our feet wet. This leads to a painful internal conflict, a chasm between the grand vision we hold for ourselves and the smallness of our daily actions. It is the conflict between the dream and the deed. We want to write the great novel, but we are unwilling to sit down and wrestle with a single, awkward, imperfect sentence today. We want to launch the revolutionary business, but we are unwilling to make the one clumsy, nerve-wracking phone call that is the next logical step. We want the glorious outcome, but we secretly hold contempt for the humble, unglamorous, repetitive process that is the only path to that outcome. The ego loves to identify with the grand vision. It gets to feel special and important. I am the kind of person who is going to change the world without having to do any of the actual difficult work. The ego despises the small, necessary step because it feels humbling and insignificant. This vast gap between the person we imagine ourselves to be and the person who is actually living our day-to-day life is a primary source of anxiety and self-loathing. It is time to learn the fundamental physics of the soul. The universe does not respond to your intentions, no matter how noble. It does not admire your plans, no matter how brilliant. The universe responds to one thing and one thing only: action. Action is the language that reality understands. A thought, a plan, an intention. These are all potential energy. They are silent, static, and contained within you. An action, any action, is kinetic energy. It is a release. It is a vibration that you send out from your inner world into the outer world. It is a declaration made real. This is the principle of resonance. When you strike a tuning fork, it creates a sound wave, a vibration that travels through the air and can even cause a nearby, sympathetic object to begin vibrating in harmony with it. A small, real action is like striking a tuning fork in the silent room of your potential. It sends a signal out into the field of reality, a signal that says, "This is what I am about. This is the direction I am moving." And reality, in ways both mysterious and mundane, begins to resonate with that signal. Opportunities appear. People respond. The world begins to organize itself around your motion. Think of it this way. Your grand vision for your life is a heavy boulder sitting on the shore of a still lake. You can spend years admiring the boulder, imagining the magnificent splash it will make. It has immense potential energy. But as long as it sits on the shore, it has zero effect on the lake. A small, imperfect action is a tiny pebble that you toss into the water. The splash is minuscule, almost unnoticeable. But it is real. And it creates real, concentric ripples that spread out, interacting with the entire surface of the lake. That tiny, real ripple is infinitely more powerful than the imaginary splash of the boulder. The universe rewards motion, not potential. So how do you overcome the immense inertia of paralysis? How do you finally push the boulder into the water? You don't. You forget the boulder for a moment. You bend down. You pick up the smallest, most manageable pebble you can find, and you toss it in. You build momentum. This is your practical work for this chapter. You will adopt a simple, powerful rule to train yourself to become a person of action. It is the 2-minute rule. The rule is this: if a task or an action on your path takes less than 2 minutes to complete, you must do it immediately. You do not schedule it. You do not add it to a to-do list. You do not think about it. You simply do it. This practice is not about productivity. It is about rewiring your entire nervous system. It is about closing the debilitating gap between intention and execution. If sending a short email takes 2 minutes, send it now. If washing the cup from your morning coffee takes 2 minutes, wash it now. If putting on your running shoes and walking out the door takes 2 minutes, do it now even, if you only walk to the end of the street and back. If the next step in your grand project is to do a quick internet search for a piece of information, do it now. Each time you apply this rule, you are casting a vote for a new identity. You are becoming, in that moment, a person who acts. You are building a psychological flywheel. At first, the wheel is heavy and difficult to turn, but each 2-minute push gives it a tiny bit of momentum. The next push is slightly easier, and the next, easier still. Soon, the wheel of action is spinning with a force of its own, and it becomes harder to not act than it is to act. Your inner and outer worlds are not separate. They are in a constant, dynamic dance. Your inner state of being determines the quality and intention of your action, and your action in the world solidifies, expresses, and makes real your inner state. You have done the deep and courageous work of cultivating your inner kingdom. Now you must understand that every small, concrete action you take is a way of manifesting that kingdom in the physical world. Every email you send, every conversation you have, every task you complete can be an expression of the clarity, integrity, and power you have fostered within. You are no longer just the architect dreaming of a beautiful design. You are the builder, on site, laying one small, real, and resonant brick at a time. And with each brick, laid with presence and intention, the great cathedral of your true life rises, stone by stone, from the blueprint of your soul into the solid, tangible reality of the world. You have learned to channel the stillness of your being into the resonance of action. You are on the construction site of your new life, laying the bricks of your discipline, one by one. A foundation is forming. A structure is rising. And as you work, as you begin to see the tangible results of your inner transformation, a new and insidious temptation arises. It is the ego's final and most clever trap. As you begin to change, you develop a subtle, often unconscious, desire to have your change witnessed. A part of you wants to turn to the world and say, "Look at me. Look at how much I've grown. Look at the work I have done." You have escaped all the old prisons, only to find yourself tempted to build a new one, a theater of the self, where you are the star of your own spiritual performance. This is the 19th chapter, the unbinding, releasing the need for an audience. The ego, that master of survival, is infinitely adaptable. Having been starved of its usual diet of drama, complaint, and victimhood, it finds a delicious new source of nourishment, the identity of the spiritual person. It is a beautiful and convincing costume. You begin to talk the talk. You narrate your journey to others, sharing your insights, detailing your breakthroughs, framing your life as a compelling story of transformation with you as its heroic protagonist. You may find yourself posting inspirational quotes online, documenting your new healthy habits, or sharing your epiphanies, consciously or unconsciously, seeking the digital applause of likes and comments as proof that your inner work is valid. You might even find yourself becoming an unsolicited advisor, diagnosing the problems of others and offering your newfound wisdom as a solution, a subtle way of establishing your own superiority. You must look upon this impulse with great compassion, but also with ruthless honesty. This need to perform your growth stems from the last vestiges of the shattered mirror self. It is the final echo of the belief that your reality is not truly real until it is reflected back at you in the admiring eyes of others. You don't quite trust that you have changed unless someone else validates it by saying, "Wow, you seem so much calmer," or "You've inspired me so much." This is a gilded cage. You have simply swapped your old addiction to approval for a new, more noble-sounding one. You have exchanged the chains of iron for chains of gold, but you are still in chains. You have made your inner peace dependent once again on something outside of yourself. The internal conflict of this chapter is the silent battle between external validation and internal verification. Validation is the sweet, addictive nectar of praise. It feels wonderful. It reinforces the ego. It makes the hard, lonely work of the inner journey feel seen and worthwhile. Verification, on the other hand, is the quiet, solid, and sometimes lonely power of simply knowing in your own bones that you have changed, regardless of whether a single other soul on the planet notices. It is the difference between telling people you are strong and being able to lift the weight. It is the difference between talking about peace and embodying it in a moment of crisis. The path of validation is loud, public, and endlessly hungry. The path of verification is quiet, private, and deeply self-sufficient. To choose verification over validation is the ultimate test of whether you are doing this work for yourself or for an imaginary audience. It is the final and most difficult unbinding. The core message is this: the most profound and permanent transformations happen in the dark. They happen in the silent, unwitnessed, unnarrated chambers of your own heart. A seed does not germinate in the harsh glare of the midday sun. It breaks open in the deep, dark, private soil. It must be protected from the light of public opinion and the gaze of others until its roots are deep and its stalk is strong. To constantly talk about your growth, to put it on display before it is fully formed, is like digging up the seed every day to see if it's sprouting. You will kill the very thing you wish to cultivate. You must learn to trust the unseen process. You must let your transformation happen in its own time, in its own silence. Your life must become the demonstration of your change, not your words. A person who is truly at peace does not need to talk about being peaceful. You feel their peace when you are near them. A person who is truly compassionate does not need to announce their compassion. They express it in their small, daily actions. A great tree does not need to shout, "I am growing." Its silent, expanding rings are the only testament it needs. You must let go of the need to be the narrator of your own story and simply become the story itself. The proof of the work is in the being, not in the telling. When you truly change, the world will know, not because you told them, but because they will feel the resonance of your new reality. How do you break this final, subtle addiction to the audience? You must practice acting in a theater with no seats. You must learn the joy of the unwitnessed act. You must cultivate a secret garden of the soul, a place of growth that is for your eyes only. This is your practical work for this chapter. You will undertake a sacred project in complete silence. You will choose one meaningful goal, one significant change you wish to make in your life. It could be a creative project, to write a collection of poems, to paint a series, to compose a piece of music. It could be a physical challenge, to train for a race, to master a difficult yoga posture. It could be a personal habit, to quit a long-standing addiction, to practice radical generosity in secret. The single, unbreakable rule of this practice is this: you will tell no one, not your partner, not your best friend, not your journal, not your social media feed, no one. It will be a sacred vow of silence between you and the universe. You will do the work every day, in private. You will face the frustrations and the setbacks alone. You will celebrate the small victories with no one but yourself. You will have no one to complain to, and no one from whom to receive encouragement. You will be alone with the work, with your discipline, with your commitment. You will not speak of the project. You will not allude to it until it is 100% complete. The finished painting, hung on the wall. The marathon, with a time recorded. The addiction, with a year of sobriety behind you. The result itself will be the only announcement that is ever made. The purpose of this practice is not to be secretive or to alienate others. It is a powerful spiritual exercise designed to prove one thing to the deepest part of your being: that your own validation is sufficient, that your own quiet pride in a commitment honored is more nourishing than the loud applause of 1,000 strangers. You are learning to be your own witness. You are learning that the work has its own intrinsic value, completely separate from any external recognition it may or may not receive. You are unbinding the final rope, the rope that ties your sense of self-worth to the opinion of the crowd. When you emerge from this practice, you are truly free. You are no longer performing for anyone. Your actions are finally pure, originating from an authentic, intrinsic impulse rather than a tainted desire for approval. You have taken off the final costume, elegant and convincing costume of the spiritual person, and you are now, perhaps for the first time, simply and authentically you. You have moved from a life of performance to a life of profound presence, and this authentic, unadorned presence, free from all neediness, is the greatest and most transformative gift you can ever offer to the world. You have walked the path of unbinding. You have learned to act from a place of pure, intrinsic presence, free from the need for an external audience. A deep and quiet confidence may now be settling into your bones, a sense of profound peace, of having finally integrated the disparate parts of your being. You may look back on the long journey, the shattered mirrors, the ghosts of the past, the desert of the real, the inner fire and the still water, and a dangerous thought may arise, a whisper from the most subtle corner of the ego: "It is finished, I have arrived." This feeling of completion, this sense of graduation, is the final and most perilous illusion on the path. It is the belief that you have reached the last page of the book, but the book of your life is not like other books. The ink is still wet. This is the 20th and final chapter of our journey together, the living ink. After a period of intense and successful inner work, there is a tendency to form a new, more refined, and very convincing identity. It is the identity of the healed person, the awakened one, the individual who has figured it out. This new self-concept is the ego's masterpiece. It is subtle, it is admirable, and it is a trap. To believe you have arrived is to immediately stop traveling. To believe you have graduated is to stop learning. The path that was once fluid, open, and full of discovery begins to harden into a rigid dogma. The practices that were once tools for liberation become a set of rules that you now use to judge yourself and others. A quiet spiritual pride can begin to creep in, a sense of superiority over those who are still struggling. This is the most insidious costume the ego can wear, because it is woven from the very threads of your own genuine transformation. The great secret of existence is that life is synonymous with change, with flux, with motion. To be alive is to be in a constant state of becoming. The moment you stop growing, you begin, in a spiritual sense, to die. The river that was once flowing with purpose and power begins to pool, to stagnate, and to lose its vitality. The internal conflict here is a deep one. It is the battle between the profound human craving for a final, stable resting place for a happily ever after, for a state of permanent, unchanging peace, and the fundamental nature of reality itself, which is endless, creative, and dynamic becoming. We want to finally put the great book of the self down on the table, sigh with relief, and say, "It is done." But the book is alive. It refuses to be finished. The ink of this very moment is flowing onto the page, writing the next sentence, whether you are paying attention or not. The journey you have undertaken, through all these chapters, was not a path to a destination. It was an apprenticeship. You were not just reading a pre-written story. You were learning the very language of reality, the grammar of the soul. You have learned to see the illusions, to work with the elements of your own nature, to claim your power of choice, to act from a place of presence. And now, your apprenticeship is complete. You are being promoted. You are graduating from being merely the reader of your life story to becoming its conscious co-author. This is the core message of this final chapter. The tome of the self is not a static scripture that you have now mastered. It is a living document, and its ink is made of time, choice, and consciousness. The ink never runs dry. And you are not writing this book alone. You are in a constant, creative dance with life. Life, the universe, God, reality, whatever you choose to call it, provides the paper and the context. It provides the stimulus, the unexpected plot twists, the characters who enter and leave your story. It sets the scene. But you, in every moment, are the one holding the pen. You choose the verb. You choose the response. You choose the meaning. The story of your life is a co-creation between the raw, unpredictable material of reality and the conscious, choosing power of your own soul. The entire journey up to this point has not been about finishing the book. It has been about making you into a writer worthy of the story. How, then, does a master author approach their work? They do not write one great book and then spend the rest of their life rereading it. The joy is in the creation. They approach the terrifying, exhilarating beauty of the blank page each day with a fresh mind. They honor the books they have written, but they do not let them define the one they are writing now. They embody a state of being the Zen masters call shoshin, or beginner's mind. The beginner's mind is open, it is eager, it is free of preconceptions. The expert's mind is closed, it is certain, it already knows. To continue your growth for the rest of your life, you must commit to remaining a beginner. You must be willing to let go of your expertise at a moment's notice. This is your final practical work. It is a practice to carry with you for all the days to come. It is the practice of embodying the beginner's mind by embracing a simple three-word mantra, I don't know. This phrase is not a confession of ignorance. It is a declaration of openness. It is a key that unlocks the door of the present moment. When you are dealing with a person you know well, a spouse, a child, a longtime friend, you will silently say to yourself, I don't know. Letting go of the heavy baggage of your history with them and allowing yourself to meet the person who is actually standing before you today, not the projection you hold in your mind. When you are faced with a new challenge or a situation that sparks fear, you will say, I don't know the outcome, releasing the need to control the future and opening yourself up to the possibilities of the present. When you listen to an opinion that contradicts your own, you will say, I don't know, and listen with the genuine curiosity of someone who might actually learn something new, rather than simply waiting for your turn to speak. To live with I don't know as your companion is to remain fluid, adaptable, and humble. It is to keep the ink of your life from drying up and hardening into a rigid dogma. It is the antidote to the peril of arrival. You are not a finished statue, a completed monument to be admired. You are a flowing river, a growing tree, a sky in constant motion. You are a work in progress, and that is the entire point. The great tome is open on the desk of this very moment. Its pages are the hours and days of your life. The ink is this breath, and the next, and the one after that. You are the one holding the pen. The story so far has been one of awakening, of struggle, of liberation. It has been the story of a reader learning to see. But that was just the prologue. Now, the real story begins. The story you will write from this moment forward, with the living ink of your own conscious choices. The question is no longer, who am I? The question is now, and for all the rest of your days, what will I write next? And so we arrive, not at an end, but at a beginning. We began this journey together before a single, unopened tome, its cover thick with the dust of unexamined years. You believed the task was to decipher a static, ancient text, but the great secret you have uncovered is this: it was never just one book. That was merely the first volume, the primer that taught you how to read. By undertaking the journey, you have unlocked the door to the entire library, and you have discovered that you are not just the reader. You are the librarian, you are the architect, and you are the living library itself. Every experience you have ever had is a book on its shelves. Every person you have ever loved is a chapter. Every scar is a sacred text. The power that guided you through these chapters was not mine. It was yours. My voice was only an echo of a wisdom that already resided within you, a finger pointing toward a treasure you already owned. You learned to still the raging waters of your heart, not because you were taught a magic spell, but because you remembered the inherent stillness of your own depths. You learned to tend the inner fire, not because you were given a flame, but because you uncovered the glowing embers of your own will. You learned to ground yourself in the earth and to find freedom in the sky, not because you were given a map, but because you are, and have always been, made of these very elements. The power was never external. It was simply waiting to be reclaimed. Do not believe for a moment that the work is finished. The library of your soul is infinite, and its doors will never close. Life will continue to deliver its plot twists, its challenging characters, its moments of unexpected grace and sudden loss. The winds will still blow, the waters will still be stirred, but you are no longer a passive victim of your own story. You are no longer a leaf in the storm. You are the conscious, sovereign author of your own response to all that life presents. This is the only freedom that has ever truly mattered. The journey is not from a state of being broken to a state of being fixed. It is a journey from being an unconscious reader of your life to becoming its conscious author. The pages of tomorrow are blank. The ink is shimmering in the pen that you now know is in your hand. Look at this moment, this silence, this breath. This is the living ink. The story continues. What will you write next?